like our Amul Gold full cream milk, 6% milk fat, which nobody in US ever imagined that you can have a milk like that, which is doing very well. And the same thing, we realized that Europe is a market where there is a large number of Indian diaspora, and we need to find a way to enter that market. So we have tied up with a local cooperative there in Spain, and we'll be very soon launching our fresh milk range, and followed with buttermilk, curds, and a lot of other fresh products also. So this is way in which the brand gets global. More importantly, the taste of India gets global. We are able to address to the Indian diaspora and eventually create a market for Indian milk also around the world.
It's interesting, you know, America is known as the land of milk to the land of milk. How did the idea come? What triggered you into thinking that, okay, fine, there is a market there for Amul, for Indian milk?
So that again, the taste comes in there, and milk which they are used to is the cow milk, which is maximum 3% fat, and people under the fear of consumption of more fat go into skim milk, which is 0% fat and 1% and 2%. But the taste buds never go away anywhere, and the Indian diaspora obviously loves the creamy milk. There was a gap in the market. We found a very right partner in a cooperative there, and that's how we said that let's experiment with this idea. Fortunately, it worked very well because the entire marketing mix was in place, and today, as I can tell you very happily, that it's part of the mainstream US milk business. So you are right, the way in which we are going about right now, moving out of not just with the ethnic stores of India where you buy your typical Indian grocery items to the mainstream. I'm very confident in a couple of years down the line, Amul will be the only pan-American milk brand.
So are we going to see the ad, Amul Doodh Peeta Hai America?
Of course. That's actually a validation of Amul Doodh Peeta Hai India, and it's a very logical extension as well.
Right. And, you know, when we are talking about all this jargon, you know, brand, global reach, market, research, we forget that the real owners of Amul are farmers, particularly women. Yes. About 3 million of them.
Yes.
And, you know, they have one buffalo, two cows, and they are supplying milk, and they are owners of Amul in a way.
Absolutely, you are so right, because since you've been in Anand, you understand that anybody having a cow and buffalo across the country, likely in Gujarat at the moment where we are, can become a member of a dairy cooperative society. So 3.6 million farmer members, most of them women, are the owners of Amul. They collect close to 310 lakh liters of milk every day, which is collected through 18,600 village cooperative societies of Gujarat. There are 18 district milk processing unions who are affiliated, who are owned by, again, these village societies, and processed at about 107 plants within Gujarat and abroad. And we are marketing it through the network of the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, as you rightly mentioned, through a network of 87 branch offices, more than 20,000 distributors, 1 million retail outlets. 22 billion packs of Amul products are sold every year. This is the single largest consumer brand in terms of sheer number of packs sold globally, and a turnover of 80,000 crore, which is $10 billion. And the largest, not just food, but also the FMCG company in the world, and now ranked as the strongest food brand in the world by independent research, strongest dairy brand in the world. So the journey of Amul, which started with just 2 villages and a few women, actually has made a big transformation, not only for the livelihood of such a large number of women, but as a country, all of us take pride that our brand stands right at the top in the world. And this is what a model of a cooperative can do. Right. And this is what is a game changer for the nation.
Amazing. Actually, the crisis I was talking about, India was milk deficient, and we did not have enough for ourselves. And we were importing milk. Yes. From places like New Zealand and Denmark and whatnot. And now when he mentions that Indian milk is available in American market, you're going to Europe. In fact, there is this interesting bit. In general parlance, जब जैसे मस्का लगाना बोलते हैं आजकल, तो पुराने ज़माने में बोलते थे पोल्सन लगाना, because Polson was a Dutch brand.
No, it was a brand owned by a Parsi gentleman, but he named it English-sounding thing so that the initial customers in the pre-independence era were the foreigners or the Britishers. So he wanted to make it sound appealing to them, and that's why the
So this thing about not trusting your own names.
Yes.
That is something which Amul has made possible.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned that there are some plants outside India also?
As of now, we are processing it in the US. We are processing. We'll start soon in Europe also. So that's how we are building up a network of facilities within and outside the country.
And within India, how has been the journey? So Amul is typically seen as a Gujarat brand originally, but now I can have Amul products anywhere in the country. So has Amul set up plants outside of Gujarat, or is it just a franchisee model where you are having state cooperatives and lending your brand to them?
No, we have at the moment 107 dairy plants out, and within Gujarat there are only about 35. We are the largest brand of milk and fresh products in Delhi, for instance, since we are here. And there are 6 plants which are owned by our own district unions who are selling milk, procuring milk from around Delhi and processing it and selling milk in Delhi. So same applies to Bombay, same applies to Kolkata, same applies to almost 180 to 200 top cities of the country. So we are both local and global. We give the benefit of Amul model to milk producers outside Gujarat also. We work together with the local state cooperatives within the entire country and keep the market of cooperative brands stronger in each of the respective states. And that's how together the Amul model actually spread outside of Gujarat through the Operation Flood model across the length and breadth of the country, which made India the largest producer of milk in the world. So cooperatives have a very strong role to play, and not just the Amul model in Gujarat, but everywhere in the country you have a local cooperative brand which is very strong. Next door, Saras in Rajasthan is very strong. To Nandini in Karnataka, Avin in Tamil Nadu, Verka in Punjab, Sudha in Bihar. Every state the cooperatives are doing very well, and that's why we are all proud that India is the largest producer of milk in the world. 1/4 of the total milk in the world is produced in India. Many of you may not know that milk is the largest agricultural crop of India. So India में जितना दूध का उत्पादन होता है, which is more than 60 crore liters a day, the value of output is 12 lakh crore rupees. It is more than the value of output of wheat, paddy, oilseeds put together.
This is for the entire year?
Entire year for the entire milk which is produced in the country. So more milk is moving from unorganized to organized sectors. Cooperatives are gaining prominence. There are cooperatives in about 2 lakh villages of India. And India has about 7 lakh villages. So the new Ministry of Cooperation has given this mandate that we should have 2 lakh more village cooperative societies in the balance 5 lakh villages of the country in the next 5 to 10 years. So what happened in 50 years of Operation Flood since 1970 to now is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So more milk will come in the organized sector, more cooperatives will be part of every village of the country, every panchayat of the country, more women will be members of this cooperative. And today, as you rightly mentioned, if the women own the Amul brand, the money which we pay as consumers, if you spend 100 rupees on Amul products, 85% goes back to the farmer.
So 85?
Yeah. So
of every 100 rupees?
Yes. So this is the highest ratio anywhere in the world. A milk producer in Europe only gets 1/3 share of a consumer's dollar. Same in case of Europe, in say, New Zealand, Australia. But in India, it's more than 2/3. So this is the power of economic empowerment through cooperatives, providing livelihood with dignity in the villages. And I heard a question about SDGs in the previous session. Dairy cooperatives and this model actually takes care of most of the SDGs. So this is the power of this model, and that's why the new Minister of Cooperation is encouraging cooperatives in different spheres, creating more cooperative institutions to support the country, the economy of the country, use it as a model of women empowerment also. And all the money also goes directly in the bank accounts of women. So it is not just a notional or a symbolic ownership of the brand, it is also in form of money directly credited to the bank accounts of women.
Jayen bhai, are there studies to prove that wherever Amul exists at the village cooperative level, not Amul as in the brand, but the organization, the women are more empowered, and hence the families are more empowered, and the girl child education is better, and the level of the quality of life is better because the women are empowered?
Yes, absolutely, because this is an empowered woman actually takes care of not just herself and the family, but the society also. And we've seen big transformation happening in lives of so many women, the quality of education, the socio-economic standards, the way in which they accept technology and adapt new technologies, and also run the business. So more than 1/3 of our village cooperative societies are 100% women-owned, women-operated, women-managed. So they are very good in managing businesses, like many of our students in MBAs are, and they are able to not demonstrate not just dairy farming, but also looking after the business part of it. And I think that's the big success of this particular movement.
You know, as someone who grew up in Uttar Pradesh and then migrated to Gujarat, and different reflect a lot of other development statistics and parameters, less crime, more progressive society. Do you see Amul as a tool of societal change also wherever you go outside Gujarat?
Absolutely, yes. So as I mentioned, the model actually the Amul model was replicated in different states of the country. So the model is already there. We are also there in terms of, since we are marketing milk in different parts of the country, we are also sourcing locally. And again, the same model is also being put in place. You pay the right price of milk to the farmer, provide veterinary services, give them ownership, and also involve them in what you do. So this is definitely a tool of social transformation, economic transformation, livelihood, and respect. Not just women, but also the society.
Fair enough. And we haven't seen the best yet, because you're saying as of now, cooperatives are in about 200,000 villages, and you have a target of, as part of Operation Flood 2.0, taking it to another 200,000 villages, or more actually.
Yes.
Another aspect of the success story is the communication strategy. And I would say it is fantastic. How many of you would recall that Amul girl? See it, watch it, all of it, the entire hall. You know, last session I asked, how many of you have Demat accounts? Just about 55-60% said yes. But everyone has seen the Amul girl, and that's fantastic, because, whenever I'm writing those top jackets or supers I have to write sometimes, I think of that Amul girl ad, yes, where everything is communicated with such brevity in 3 words.
Yes.
The latest one, of course, was the Buckingham murders, on which the play was,
yes, Baking
with Makhan. So how does it really happen? Like, are you part of that strategy? You would have seen it closely.
Yes and no. Yes, because as a client, obviously we endorse whatever the agency comes out. And no, because the agency has full creative freedom to do what it wants in terms of wordplay, the theme, the messaging on its own. And I would be seeing the topical at the same time you are seeing it as a consumer. So we don't have an editorial interference in what the messaging is all about. This is perhaps the only brand in the world in which the client does not approve, quote unquote, the creative. And the agency has been given this creative liberty and freedom to publish it on billboards, in print, in social media. And we as the client who would sign the bill for sure would see it like the normal consumers do. So this is a unique part of this campaign, and that's how the agency has maintained the topicality of it. Amul Girl has maintained a place in everyone's heart, because whatever she says and speaks is what is the mood of the nation. Yeah. At times she is sad, at times she is happy, but it is not that she is talking to someone with any malice. She has the best interest of the country at heart, of each of the consumers at heart, and in a very cheeky, humorous, very light way, she communicates what is the mood of the nation.
Oh, you remember, like, it's of course the present mood of the nation, but I could recall maybe 20 years back some of those Amul topicals. But moving on. So you're talking about villages, you're talking about women, many of them might not be educated, they are just taking care of one buffalo or 2 cows in their family, in the shed, in the village. And this fantastic communication strategy, which makes it such a uber cool urban brand in terms of brand recall. So my question is, that what's next? You have achieved so many frontiers in the recent past, from United States to Europe now. What's next?
This is, to my mind, just a beginning. And I'll tell you with some numbers that Amul today handles 1/4 of the total organized milk in the country. But organized sector is only 1/4 of the total production in the country. So to put in numbers, we handle close to, say, 3 crore liters of milk a day. India produces 60 crore liters of milk a day. A big change happening in the mindset of the consumers post-COVID, for sure, is converting from loose to packaged and branded. Okay, and that is not just in milk. It is in buttermilk also, it's in curd also, it's in paneer also, it's in khoa also, it's in mithai.
Because of the hygiene factor.
Hygiene factor. And that's where the organized sector comes in. And you look at it broadly, India also produces 5% more milk every year, but we're not looking at that 3 crore liters on 60 crore liters. But assume that 3 crore is 5% people shift from loose to package and branded. That's another 3 crore liters of milk, which is what our current volumes are. So our internal belief is you can add 1 Amul every year in India. And believe me, we are an 80,000 crore, a $10 billion brand, the largest food brand, FMCG brand in the country. But still, we are working with that ambition and aspiration that if consumers are shifting from loose to package and branded, and not just in rural areas, in urban areas, everywhere, we have the opportunity to double actually every year, if we wish to, and if we have the will to. And of course, we need to develop a capability to. So I can be very, very assured, and I can tell you that this is a great opportunity within the country. Second, looking at the global dairy industry and the situation, what's happening globally, dairy industry is in a lot of pressure in all the developed countries. Today, we are producing, as I mentioned, 1/4 of the total milk in the world. In next 10 years, India will produce 1/3 of the total milk in the world. So here we have a chance, as India, to become a dairy to the world. Which means, Honorable Prime Minister, when he told a few months back that he wants Indian food brands to be on everyone's dining table in the world, dairy is a job for itself. It is very much possible for the dairy industry of India to be a dairy to the world. And that's why when you talk of global expansion and the models of doing it, it is with this particular vision that we can be on the breakfast table of an American to a European to a Southeast Asian country and build the market for not just the Indian milk, but the Indian brands, develop this soft power and actually dominate the world.
One interesting aspect that I see as a consumer, I'm not a business journalist, but I just observe things. So one is the plain vanilla dairy products like milk, buttermilk, and butter, and then you see that fantastic lineup of Amul getting into whey proteins, chocolate powder, and of course ice creams. It's a legend. So, though of course I would wish that maybe those products were a little more visible. I don't know why you have chosen just to put them on your website and not in general retail. So I should be able to get it on a Zepto or a Swiggy. Yeah. But still, how was this strategy planned to get into markets which are very urban, uber niche, catering to that kind of segment?
There are two insights to it. One, A, is the consumer insight. When people become more conscious of their health, and we know each one of us has to consume 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight every day. So it is not just consuming protein in form of a whey protein or a kala dabba, which you are used to, but protein in any form of food items that you consume. But the maths has to be there that if you're weighing 60 kg, you need 60 grams of protein, and you do have maths every day. So we worked with this insight, and they said that milk is a superfood. Milk has all the good nutrients that you want, but when consumers are looking at macros, which is the fat, protein, and carbs, how do we get into their mind space? Second, it is very logical. We are the largest producer of cheese and paneer in the country. And so, obviously, we have the best quality whey available with us. And then if you use this technology to convert this liquid protein from the liquid whey into protein for the products like buttermilk, lassi, or super milk, which is 35 grams protein per 250 ml, then we have won the game. India will not need to import anything, and we will be utilizing our resources. I was in one International Dairy Federation's conference way back in 1999. I'll tell a very short incident, where one of the scientists said that today when you use milk to make cheese, you eat the cheese and throw the whey away. But a day will come when you will throw away the cheese and use the whey. And this was 1999, 25 years back. I heard it. The first soch was, "ये फेंकता है." I mean, how is it possible? I mean, cheese is so valued and we love cheese. But then once we started working on whey and the components of whey and using technology to break down the protein out of the whey and use it, we realized that we have a game changer. And that's how we have a big range of high protein products. I can assure you, today we are doing it only on our own shop.amul.com portal. It's direct to consumer because we are also learning how to be direct to consumers, not be dependent on the e-com things, because today we know every single customer of Amul protein. And when I launch a new product, I need to just send an SMS or a WhatsApp and we get the orders.
But I'm sure at half the price?
Yes, it is half the price, less than half the price, but more importantly, it's quality. And the marketing line is only one word and one line, that we need to consume 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight every day. Everybody does the maths. It can be a senior citizen, it can be a young child, it can be a gym goer, it can be a normal girl in her adult sense. Everyone, if they start doing it, we have won the game.
And you know what the scientists told you in 1999, our gaon ka pehlwans, they know it. So, they don't throw the whey.
Yes.
They drink it.
Yes.
And that's how they do the pehlwani.
But that whey is, the cheese whey is only 0.6 to 0.9%. And what we consume is 8 to 15%. And that's where the technology of bringing out the whey protein and converting into a drink, which is affordable, which is tasty, because whey otherwise is not very tasty, and also affordable and available, which is you rightly mentioned.
Fantastic. Any questions in the audience? Yes, Smriti.
Very good afternoon, sir. My name is Smriti Mishra. Sir, as we all are journalists, our main focus has to be on the marketing and advertising of this entire brand, because milk is something, as you rightly said, as even sir was asking, the question, that milk is something which is there at the very grassroots level, right? In the villages where it is produced. And at the same time, parallelly, somewhere you're building the brand outside India, in the world, right? So I want to know, I know that, as you said that you're indirectly involved in the editorial team. I want to know how Amul as a brand is bridging that gap, is able to build that brand where Amul is known in every household. At the same time, it is able to build that brand where outside, India's milk is being represented by the brand Amul.
You asked a very difficult question. But the simple answer is that you need to understand what the consumers want and how you do it by leveraging the brand's association with the customers. Before that, let me tell you a fun fact, that we spend less than 1% of our turnover on advertising. Most companies, private, multinational, spend 5 to 12% of their turnover on advertising.
Amazing.
So this is where you need to work with a very frugal mindset, frugal budgets, but extend the brand in such a way that you are able to reach out to that customer, reinforce the message you want to do, have a portfolio of products which meet that requirement, and more importantly, it should not be your grandfather's brand. It has to be your brand, and that we have to continuously keep talking to every generation so that he or she of the next generation would be thinking, it's my brand, it's talking to me, it is designing products what I want. Classic case is chocolates and dark chocolates. I mean, we are the largest brand of dark chocolates today in the country without spending a single rupee on advertising, because we were listening to every single customer. And that's how we said that instead of the sugary chocolates, let us get into a space which the young consumers want to be. Same is case of protein, same is case of organics, same is case of probiotics. So using technology, using science, using this bond which Amul already has with the consumers, leveraging the brand, and increasing its presence and distribution is what is a game changer.
It's amazing. We're wrapping up. Many times I pick up that Amul dark chocolate because of the fantastic cover, It's so beautifully made. Of course, the chocolate is also fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for this great session.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Amul, of course, would be part of India 2047, a success story.
Yeah, that will be the 100th year of Amul as well. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jayen Mehta and Abhishek, for that very interesting conversation. I'd now like to tell all of you that we will take a short break to have lunch and reconvene in the next 20 minutes. I want to say a quick thank you to all those people who made today's day possible. The 4th edition of the India Economic Summit 2024, presented by Adani, powered by Nippon India Mutual Fund, Wealth Sets You Free, co-powered by the Ravin Group, Bharosa Rakho, Surakshit Raho, ई-कॉमर्स पार्टनर इंडिया जोना, भारत की अपनी दुकान नॉलेज पार्टनर अमृता विश्व विद्यापीठम, कम बिकम स्टेट पार्टनर उत्तर प्रदेश शासन. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being a very, very patient audience since this morning, and we promise you a power-packed second half after this very short break. Thank you for staying.
No neutral media in the West. You cannot trust the BBC and the CNN. And therefore, when India takes its pride of place, because we are not a middle power anymore, we are a great power. We are not a great power. We are not a superpower in the making. And therefore, what we have done is we have said, how far can you dream? कितने सपने आप देख सकते हैं? और सपनों के तरफ कैसी नींव बना सकते हैं? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Republic Media Complex. जो आप देख रहे हैं, जहां आप खड़े हैं और जहां आप जाने वाले हैं आज, ये नींव है उस सपने की कि भारत एक ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बनेगा और मीडिया नहीं होगा तो वो ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बन नहीं सकता है. So we are a dedication towards making India a global superpower. And we are very thrilled about it. We are very excited about it. For what we do is we live our dream and we say, can we make that happen? And I want to make one more prediction. People who think that they can do global news because they have money are totally mistaken. Ideas don't cost money. Ideology doesn't cost money. Nation first doesn't come with money. Belief doesn't come with money. The spirit of challenge doesn't come with money. This Republic Media Network is a fundamental belief that we can make dreams happen if we put our heart to it. 1000%, every single day. There is only one philosophy which guides us. We have many ups and downs. We have difficult days. We have challenging days. There are days when we feel we've not done enough. There are days when you feel you don't have enough. But every day when we walk out of that newsroom, whatever your mood may be, good or bad, and I want you to see that, especially so many people from forces here, you will only see emblazoned in red, in white on red, the colors of Republic, nation first. And we have written it there. Many people can claim to do the news first. But what we want to be is not just a news organization. We want to be the start of a nationalist movement in this country, where we believe everything we do eventually is in the service of the nation. And nothing we do can ever be against our national interest. And that is our belief. So if the God Almighty is with us, if our effort is true and pure, we have grown so much. Today I want to thank everyone. And I want to end with a small thought that 2017, when we look at our journey, we keep reminding ourselves how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, this Republic Media Network headquarters is by far the most advanced, state-of-the-art, extremely technologically advanced, massively scaled up news complex, the one of its kind in the country, the largest in Asia, and possibly, though I haven't put a record to measure the tape and the length of this organization, it is possibly where we are today, one of the largest news complexes in the world today. It is not about the number of acres that this complex is encompassed in. It is not about the 3.5 lakh square feet of studio space. It is not about the hundreds of cameras or strobe lights or this beautiful auditorium, but it is about the passion that makes the Republic Media Network a one of its kind, completely special news organization in the world today. The fundamentals of this organization are very clear, and I must emphasize them again. What makes Republic special beyond the news complex, beyond what you will see today, is the fact that the Republic Media Network is the only independently journalist-owned news organization of this scale in the world, not just in India. And at a time when corporates and corporate entities think that they can buy over the media business, the Republic Media Network stands as a colossus challenging that idea. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Media Network will always stand the test of time as the only independently run journalist-owned news network professionally managed in a country which is the world's largest democracy, and as some global leaders said yesterday, the next global superpower. This network, this complex, is a service for that, and we are proud of that. And I'm so proud of our people. I'm so proud of our people. The recent elections in America have made it very clear there is no neutral media in the West. You cannot trust the BBC and the CNN. And therefore, when India takes its pride of place, because we are not a middle power anymore, we are a great power. We are not a great power. We are not a superpower in the making. And therefore what we have done is we have said, how far can you dream, कितने सपने आप देख सकते हैं और सपनों के तरफ कैसी नींव बना सकते हैं. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Republic Media Complex. जो आप देख रहे हैं, जहां आप खड़े हैं और जहां आप जाने वाले हैं आज, ये नींव है उस सपने की कि भारत एक ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बनेगा और मीडिया नहीं होगा तो वो ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बन नहीं सकता है. So we are a dedication towards making India a global superpower, and we are very thrilled about it. We are very excited about it. For what we do is we live our dream and we say, can we make that happen? And I want to make one more prediction. People who think that they can do global news because they have money are totally mistaken. Ideas don't cost money. Ideology doesn't cost money. Nation first doesn't come with money. Belief doesn't come with money. The spirit of challenge doesn't come with money. This Republic Media Network is a fundamental belief that we can make dreams happen if we put our heart to it. 1000%, every single day. There is only one philosophy which guides us. We have many ups and downs. We have difficult days. We have challenging days. There are days when we feel we've not done enough. There are days when you feel you don't have enough. But every day when we walk out of that newsroom, whatever your mood may be, good or bad, and I want you to see that, especially so many people from forces here, you will only see emblazoned in red, in white on red, the colors of Republic, nation first. And we have written it there. Many people can claim to do the news first. But what we want to be is not just a news organization. We want to be the start of a nationalist movement in this country, where we believe everything we do eventually is in the service of the nation. And nothing we do can ever be against our national interest. And that is our belief. So if the God Almighty is with us, if our effort is true and pure, we have grown so much. Today I want to thank everyone. And I want to end with a small thought that 2017, when we look at our journey, we keep reminding ourselves how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, this Republic Media Network headquarters is by far the most advanced, state-of-the-art, extremely technologically advanced, massively scaled up news complex, the one of its kind in the country, the largest in Asia, and possibly, though I haven't put a record to measure the tape and the length of this organization, it is possibly where we are today, one of the largest news complexes in the world today. It is not about the number of acres that this complex is encompassed in. It is not about the 3.5 lakh square feet of studio space. It is not about the hundreds of cameras or strobe lights or this beautiful auditorium. But it is about the passion that makes the Republic Media Network a one of its kind, completely special news organization in the world today. The fundamentals of this organization are very clear, and I must emphasize them again. What makes Republic special beyond the news complex, beyond what you will see today, is the fact that the Republic Media Network is the only independently journalist-owned news organization of this scale in the world, not just in India. And at a time when corporates and corporate entities think that they can buy over the media business, the Republic Media Network stands as a colossus challenging that idea, believing that it is journalists first, editorial first, news first. For us, news is not a business. For us, news is a passion. For us, news is a service for this country. And to do that service, we need to be independent. Independent in spirit, independent in thinking, independent in ownership, independent in finances, and independent in our ideology. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Media Network will always stand the test of time as the only independently run journalist-owned news network professionally managed in a country which is the world's largest democracy, and as some global leader said yesterday, the next global superpower. This network, this complex, is a service for that. And we are proud of that. And I'm so proud of our people. I'm so proud of our people. The recent elections in America have made it very clear. There is no neutral media in the West. You cannot trust the BBC and the CNN. And therefore, when India takes its pride of place, because we are not a middle power anymore, we are a great power. We are not great power. We are not a superpower in the making. And therefore, what we have done is we have said, how far can you dream? कितने सपने आप देख सकते हैं? और सपनों के तरफ कैसी नींव बना सकते हैं? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Republic Media Complex. जो आप देख रहे हैं, जहां आप खड़े हैं और जहां आप जाने वाले हैं आज, ये नींव है उस सपने की कि भारत एक ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बनेगा और मीडिया नहीं होगा तो वो ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बन नहीं सकता है. So we are a dedication towards making India a global superpower. And we are very thrilled about it. We are very excited about it. For what we do is we live our dream and we say, can we make that happen? And I want to make one more prediction. People who think that they can do global news because they have money are totally mistaken. Ideas don't cost money. Ideology doesn't cost money. Nation first doesn't come with money. Belief doesn't come with money. The spirit of challenge doesn't come with money. This Republic Media Network is a fundamental belief that we can make dreams happen if we put our heart to it. 1000%, every single day. There is only one philosophy which guides us. We have many ups and downs. We have difficult days. We have challenging days. There are days when we feel we've not done enough. There are days when you feel you don't have enough. But every day when we walk out of that newsroom, whatever your mood may be, good or bad, and I want you to see that, especially so many people from forces here, you will only see emblazoned in red, in white on red, the colors of Republic, nation first. And we have written it there. Many people can claim to do the news first. But what we want to be is not just a news organization. We want to be the start of a nationalist movement in this country, where we believe everything we do eventually is in the service of the nation. And nothing we do can ever be against our national interest. And that is our belief. So if the God Almighty is with us, if our effort is true and pure, we have grown so much. Today I want to thank everyone. And I want to end with a small thought that 2017, when we look at our journey, we keep reminding ourselves how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, this Republic Media Network headquarters is by far the most advanced, state-of-the-art, extremely technologically advanced, massively scaled up news complex, the one of its kind in the country, the largest in Asia, and possibly, though I haven't put a record to measure the tape and the length of this organization, it is possibly where we are today, one of the largest news complexes in the world today. It is not about the number of acres that this complex is encompassed in. It is not about the 3.5 lakh square feet of studio space. It is not about the hundreds of cameras or strobe lights or this beautiful auditorium. But it is about the passion that makes the Republic Media Network a one of its kind, completely special news organization in the world today. The fundamentals of this organization are very clear, and I must emphasize them again. What makes Republic special beyond the news complex, beyond what you will see today, is the fact that the Republic Media Network is the only independently journalist-owned news organization of this scale in the world, not just in India. And at a time when corporates and corporate entities think that they can buy over the media business, the Republic Media Network stands as a colossus challenging that idea, believing that it is journalists first, editorial first, news first. For us, news is not a business. For us, news is a passion. For us, news is a service for this country. And to do that service, we need to be independent. Independent in spirit, independent in thinking, independent in ownership, independent in finances, and independent in our ideology. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Media Network will always stand the test of time as the only independently run journalist-owned news network professionally managed in a country which is the world's largest democracy, and as some global leader said yesterday, the next global superpower. This network, this complex, is a service for that. And we are proud of that. And I'm so proud of our people. I'm so proud of our people. The recent elections in America have made it very clear There is no neutral media in the West. You cannot trust the BBC and the CNN. And therefore, when India takes its pride of place, because we are not a middle power anymore, we are a great power. We are not a great power. We are not a superpower in the making. And therefore, what we have done is we have said, how far can you dream? कितने सपने आप देख सकते हैं? और सपनों के तरफ कैसी नींव बना सकते हैं? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Republic Media Complex. जो आप देख रहे हैं, जहां आप खड़े हैं और जहां आप जाने वाले हैं आज, ये नींव है उस सपने की कि भारत एक ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बनेगा और मीडिया नहीं होगा तो वो ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बन नहीं सकता है. So we are a dedication towards making India a global superpower. And we are very thrilled about it. We are very excited about it. For what we do is we live our dream and we say, can we make that happen? And I want to make one more prediction. People who think that they can do global news because they have money are totally mistaken. Ideas don't cost money. Ideology doesn't cost money. Nation first doesn't come with money. Belief doesn't come with money. The spirit of challenge doesn't come with money. This Republic Media Network is a fundamental belief that we can make dreams happen if we put our heart to it. 1000%, every single day. There is only one philosophy which guides us. We have many ups and downs. We have difficult days. We have challenging days. There are days when we feel we've not done enough. There are days when you feel you don't have enough. But every day when we walk out of that newsroom, whatever your mood may be, good or bad, and I want you to see that, especially so many people from forces here, you will only see emblazoned in red, in white on red, the colors of Republic, nation first. And we have written it there. Many people can claim to do the news first. But what we want to be is not just a news organization. We want to be the start of a nationalist movement in this country, where we believe everything we do eventually is in the service of the nation. And nothing we do can ever be against our national interest. And that is our belief. So if the God Almighty is with us, if our effort is true and pure, we have grown so much. Today I want to thank everyone. And I want to end with a small thought that 2017, when we look at our journey, we keep reminding ourselves how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, this Republic Media Network headquarters is by far the most advanced, state-of-the-art, extremely technologically advanced, massively scaled up news complex, the one of its kind in the country, the largest in Asia, and possibly, though I haven't put a record to measure the tape and the length of this organization, it is possibly where we are today, one of the largest news complexes in the world today. It is not about the number of acres that this complex is encompassed in. It is not about the 3.5 lakh square feet of studio space. It is not about the hundreds of cameras or strobe lights or this beautiful auditorium. But it is about the passion that makes the Republic Media Network a one of its kind, completely special news organization in the world today. The fundamentals of this organization are very clear, and I must emphasize them again. What makes Republic special beyond the news complex, beyond what you will see today, is the fact that the Republic Media Network is the only independently journalist-owned news organization of this scale in the world, not just in India. And at a time when corporates and corporate entities think that they can buy over the media business, the Republic Media Network stands as a colossus challenging that idea, believing that it is journalists first, editorial first, news first. For us, news is not a business. For us, news is a passion. For us, news is a service for this country. And to do that service, we need to be independent. Independent in spirit, independent in thinking, independent in ownership, independent in finances, and independent in our ideology. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Media Network will always stand the test of time as the only independently run journalist-owned news network professionally managed in a country which is the world's largest democracy, and as some global leader said yesterday, the next global superpower. This network, this complex, is a service for that. And we are proud of that. And I'm so proud of our people. I'm so proud of our people. The recent elections in America have made it very clear. There is no neutral media in the West. You cannot trust the BBC and the CNN. And therefore, when India takes its pride of place, because we are not a middle power anymore, we are a great power. We are not great power. We are not a superpower in the making. And therefore, what we have done is we have said, how far can you dream? कितने सपने आप देख सकते हैं? और सपनों के तरफ कैसी नींव बना सकते हैं? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Republic Media Complex. जो आप देख रहे हैं, जहां आप खड़े हैं और जहां आप जाने वाले हैं आज, ये नींव है उस सपने की कि भारत एक ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बनेगा और मीडिया नहीं होगा तो वो ग्लोबल सुपर पावर बन नहीं सकता है. So we are a dedication towards making India a global superpower. And we are very thrilled about it. We are very excited about it. For what we do is we live our dream and we say, can we make that happen? And I want to make one more prediction. People who think that they can do global news because they have money are totally mistaken. Ideas don't cost money. Ideology doesn't cost money. Nation first doesn't come with money. Belief doesn't come with money. The spirit of challenge doesn't come with money. This Republic Media Network is a fundamental belief that we can make dreams happen if we put our heart to it. 1000%, every single day. There is only one philosophy which guides us. We have many ups and downs. We have difficult days. We have challenging days. There are days when we feel we've not done enough. There are days when you feel you don't have enough. But every day when we walk out of that newsroom, whatever your mood may be, good or bad, and I want you to see that, especially so many people from forces here, you will only see emblazoned in red, in white on red, the colors of Republic, nation first. And we have written it there. Many people can claim to do the news first. But what we want to be is not just a news organization. We want to be the start of a nationalist movement in this country, where we believe everything we do eventually is in the service of the nation. And nothing we do can ever be against our national interest. And that is our belief. So if the God Almighty is with us, if our effort is true and pure, we have grown so much. Today I want to thank everyone. And I want to end with a small thought that 2017, when we look at our journey, we keep reminding ourselves how far we have come. Ladies and gentlemen, this Republic Media Network headquarters is by far the most advanced, state-of-the-art, extremely technologically advanced, massively scaled up news complex, the one of its kind in the country, the largest in Asia, and possibly, though I haven't put a record to measure the tape and the length of this organization, it is possibly where we are today, one of the largest news complexes in the world today. It is not about the number of acres that this complex is encompassed in. It is not about the 3.5 lakh square feet of studio space. It is not about the hundreds of cameras or strobe lights or this beautiful auditorium, but it is about the passion that makes the Republic Media Network a one of its kind, completely special news organization in the world today. The fundamentals of this organization are very clear, and I must emphasize them again. What makes Republic special beyond the news complex, beyond what you will see today, is the fact that the Republic Media Network is the only independently journalist-owned news organization of this scale in the world, not just in India. And at a time when corporates and corporate entities think that they can buy over the media business, the Republic Media Network stands as a colossus challenging that idea, believing that it is journalists first, editorial first, news first. For us, news is not a business. For us, news is a passion. For us, news is a service for this country. And to do that service, we need to be independent. Independent in spirit, independent in thinking, independent in ownership, independent in finances, and independent in our ideology. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic Media Network will always stand the test of time as the only independently run journalist-owned news network professionally managed in a country which is the world's largest democracy, and as some global leader said yesterday, the next global superpower.
This and economic network, growth with nearly 35 years of unparalleled experience at CII, he has shaped policy, fostered innovation, and spearheaded initiatives that have enhanced the competitiveness of industries across India.
The recent
His contributions to strengthening India's global ties have earned him prestigious honors, including the China-India Friendship Award and the Knight Commander of the Order of Queen Isabella from Spain, among others. Also with us is Mr. Shubhrakant Panda, the Managing Director and CEO of Indian Metals and Ferroy Alloys Limited, that has propelled IMFA to newer heights, making it a global leader in the ferro alloy industry. Beyond the corporate world, Mr. Panda has made significant contributions to India's economic growth and development. And as a former leader of FICCI and ICC India, he has championed the cause of Indian businesses on the global stage. Joining us is Mr. PK Basu, who will be in conversation with Mr. Banerjee and Mr. Panda for this very discussion on boardroom game theory. Let's give them a huge round of applause, please.
Good afternoon. So we have the graveyard shift after lunch. Hopefully, these two titans of industry are going to enliven it enough to wake us all up post-lunch. We have decided that we are going to focus on how business is responding to the challenge of Viksit Bharat. And we'll address a few things, but let's start with the employment challenge. We've had labor market reforms passed by Parliament and signed off by the President. but they haven't been notified either by the center or the states. Now, there's some debate about whether the center has notified the labor market reforms. They're supposed to have substantially reduce the complexity of the labor laws from about 44 codes to 4. But the challenge, of course, is that most states haven't notified them. How is industry responding to the challenge of employment, and why is it that industry does not employ more people, and particularly in labor-intensive manufacturing? But in broad terms, what is clear is that we keep going for capital-intensive rather than labor-intensive investment. Why is that? Yeah.
Good afternoon, and thank you. It's wonderful to be on the show, and let me start out by congratulating the Republic team on this wonderful new setup that they have. But with regard to the question, may I take the liberty, first of all, of rephrasing it slightly? I would like to look upon it as the Viksit Bharat opportunity, not the challenge. Now let's, that being said, let's look at the various components, and you have certainly highlighted something which is, when it comes to employment, that is obviously for a country as large as ours, that is something that we need to focus on very carefully. And at one level, what is unfortunate is that all the effort to codify the vast number of rules and regulations pertaining to labor laws, to distill it down to 4 codes, I think has been a brilliant effort. What is unfortunate is that this debate invariably, looks at labor law reforms as a hire and fire policy, which is not what it is. There are many more aspects to it than that. And if at all, hire and fire is a matter of to be discussed. So from that point of view, a lot of the heavy lifting has been done, like you said, in terms of codifying it down to 4 different codes. And obviously what is now necessary is to take it forward. At a roundtable discussion that we had at FICCI some time ago, where Dr. Panagaria was there, 2 important points came about, one of which is what you referred to, that in a country as large as ours, if you are not effectively utilizing that factor of reform, which is labor, then obviously it is suboptimal going ahead. That means, that doesn't mean there's anything against the use of capital or technology, but labor is something that has to be utilized more effectively. And in that regard, I think what is necessary and what will perhaps break this logjam and take it forward is to have 1 or 2 of the more advanced states in terms of a manufacturing ecosystem taking the plunge and setting a standard for the others to follow. I think that is what is necessary to take it forward. From an industry perspective, certainly I think what one needs to look at is to use and to leverage labor, given that it is a significant factor of production that is available in abundance. And in that context, again, from a FICCI perspective, what we have talked about, and I think industry in general talks about, is leveraging, for example, the productivity-linked incentive schemes and bringing in an element of employment, or if nothing else, at least targeting those sectors which have very high employment potential. I think that is what will make a difference.
Mr. Banerjee.
So having talked about the reform side of it and what we require, I think we need to, first of all, appreciate that given the demography of the country, we need to utilize this window of opportunity when we have this availability, the supply side of labor effectively. And having said that, therefore, one thing which, as you said, what industry is doing and should be doing is looking at that from an angle of how one can really look at upskilling and really making them relevant for the type of jobs which are available or going to be available as we go forward. So future of jobs, future of skills, and related to that. That's the first piece I would think is very critical, and that's what's been given a lot of emphasis both by the industry, and I would also see the government really giving major focus on upskilling and reskilling. The second part of it, which we must appreciate, that the larger companies, the jobs are going to really come from the small and the micro companies. The larger companies are going to be by and large going for automation, rightly so, no issues, but yes, jobs will come, a large amount of jobs will come from the small, mid-sized companies and even micro-sized companies. So the importance of it, and therein also lies a lot of role for the large companies and many institutions to play, is to look at how one makes our small and mid-sized companies more effective to the supply chain, which would mean that they would be able to grow, they would be able to be a part of the supply chain of the larger companies as they take global advantage, Indian advantage of the market, and therefore they are able to employ more. I think that's the second piece which industry is focused on and is looking at it, besides the various, of course, areas of governmental reforms, etc., which will come as it does. And my last point on the third one, which I would like to emphasize on, is as we move on, there are areas which are very labor intensive, like we talk about textiles, so to say, which could be a very highly labor intensive. So if you look at even services sector, tourism, if you look at, is a huge labor intensive sort of sector. So in these labor intensive sectors, if we can have I would think that if there is a situation where we can really look at tourism as a priority sector in the country, where we can, from skilling right up to small chains, to homestays, to all of it, if we are able to create a change to a 7-star hotel, I think we will be able to create an ecosystem of employment. I think there's a role of industry there to play too, even when we look at industries like textiles and all. So how do we focus on some priority labor-intensive sectors? And I think those are 3 issues which I would lay onto the table for moving forward.
Wonderful. So that takes me on to a related topic, which is China. I mean, if you look at even textiles, China's textile and garment exports are 9 times India's. Despite the fact that if you look at history from the time of Chandragupta Maurya, when we had visitors coming to India from Greece and Rome, they used to marvel at the cloth and clothes that India produced. So we used to be the producers of cloth and clothes for the world for 3,000 years until the last 77. We stopped being the primary producer. But then if you look more broadly, steel, aluminium, cement, in almost every sector, China now accounts for about half of world production. India is second in all 3. Now the point is, India is therefore an industrialized country. We are the second biggest producer of steel. Nobody apart from China, has ever produced as much steel as we produced last year in any given year. So we are a steel producer. But the problem is that China has so much overcapacity that it then dumps its capacity on the rest of the world, and we are a prime source of dumping. So should our response to China be to continue to impose anti-dumping duties, to stop some of these dumping actions? Or should we take advantage of cheap Chinese imports to value add? So you're in ferroalloys, so it goes straight to you with that question with regard to steel, with iron and steel.
So, the statistics first, and you're absolutely right that when it comes to most commodities, China accounts for roughly half the world's production, and then it is distributed amongst the rest, whether it is steel, whether it is other points. Now, what should be the reaction to Chinese overcapacity? I believe a set of internal actions and a set of external actions. Internal, clearly do more of what the government has done, which is a focus on ease of doing business, a focus on reducing cost of doing business, so that we work at enhancing the competitiveness of Indian industry. The fact is that if you look at where India stands today, we are at the confluence of a huge opportunity where we can cater to a large domestic market as well as be a production base for the world. But that requires you to be competitive, that requires you to be part of global value chains, etc. From an external perspective, if you look at the likelihood of dumping, I can say this very confidently that Indian industry today, all that we want is a level playing field. If you have a level playing field, then that is all that you need. So from that playing field, then that is all that you need. So from that point of view, if there is evidence of dumping happening, and I'm certainly aware in certain sectors it has happened, then one shouldn't look at whether it is anti-dumping duties or anything of that sort as protectionism, but providing a level playing field. And if that is given to us, along with all the efforts which have been made, as I said, from a sustained reforms point of view, I think Indian industry is more than capable of holding its head high. The second point I wanted to make with regard to where China stands in terms of capacities across various sectors and where India stands, again, I see that as an opportunity, because what the last several years have proven, especially with COVID, is that you have to have a resilient supply chain and a diversified supply chain. And somehow people had been lulled over the last 20 odd years into forgetting that basic tenet of a diversified supply chain. And therein lies the opportunity for India. So we're not, it's not a question of competing with someone or a China plus one, but to say that, look, there is huge opportunity, as again evidenced by the fact that, India's share of global trade today has a lot of headroom, which I see as a tremendous opportunity.
Yes. So if you could take it to other sectors apart from steel, cars, chemicals.
So, one point is on steel. You said that India has been the second largest, but we imported. And, what happens in manufacturing, and Subhrakanta also mentioned, when you see a cheaper source of supply, you get tempted to take from there, for your inputs. But having said that, I see China is not just a threat in terms of its dumping to India, but it applies to other parts of the world. But moving on, I think, other sectors, as you mentioned, we have to build in a resilient supply chain on every sector, be it pharmaceutical, be it rare earths, be it whatever. And I think besides being able to produce in India, there are sources which we would really need to look at, because it's a trade deficit of 100 billion is not a sustainable trading partnership. And I think one has to also look at it from that perspective, from the Indian industry point of view, as well as from the economic point of view. The second part is, India has to compete in areas of quality in terms of value add. So while there could be mass manufacturing, and we are competing there, not a private sector versus private sector, but a private sector versus a state over there. So here we will have to see how we match through areas of design, through areas of quality, with areas of value add, to see how our products are able to have that edge on Chinese products across the sectors. And third and last, as we build these, which I started with, the supply chain, diversification, I think we would have to see a long-term game plan of us being able to develop capacity enough in India in areas where we have dependence on any geography for that matter. But lastly, to end with, I would imagine we should keep national security topmost in our mind as we look at how both from the point of view of both trade as well as investment. So I think that given that concern, given that pivot, we should then go into the other three areas that I just spoke about.
Terrific. I'll come back to RCEP, which is again a live issue related to this. But before we do that, a contemporary issue relevant to this particular week especially is that America has just re-elected Trump with a decisive mandate. There's generally been a euphoric response in India because he is seen as a friend of India, and particularly he is seen as an enemy of China, which I think if you just look at the tariffs he imposed on China, they definitely had an impact. China's share of US imports has gone down from 22% to 13% since he imposed those tariffs. So they've worked. He intends to do much more of that. But he also intends to perhaps impose tariffs on others. So do you look at the election of Trump as an opportunity or a threat from the industry standpoint and from a broader strategic standpoint for India?
I think it's certainly above my pay grade to start talking about America's political choices. I mean, we have to deal with whatever it is that elections, whether in the US or anywhere else, throws up. But generally speaking, the view public opinion has been that the Republican Party is more friendly towards trade. Having said that, the counterbalance to that is the threat of tariffs, etc. But what we have to keep in mind is that every nation will do what it considers in its best interests. But yes, the strategic alignment that India and the US have developed over the last decade or so means that these two democracies will have to work together. I mean, working together doesn't mean that you agree on everything, that there aren't areas of disagreement. But if you, by and large, agree on more than you disagree on, I think that's what defines a strategic partnership. Now, from an Indian industry point of view, I think what we're looking at is the opportunities that we get by the two countries coming closer together, whether it is in terms of technology transfer, whether it is in terms of access to the latest technology, whether it is the latest innovations, and even while we have to step up our game in the research and development field, in terms of stepping up our expenditure, in terms of focusing more on innovation, as CB said, focusing on quality, etc., because that's what it takes to be competitive and acceptable globally. I think working together with US US counterparts on areas of common interest where we can collaborate to move forward together is a great opportunity for Indian industry.
So, exactly taking it on from there, we have seen phenomenal achievements of India globally in terms of building partnership, building relationships at the leadership level. And US is no exception. In fact, we had seen it during the earlier administration of the president-elect. And moving on, if you really look at the relationship between US and India decadally over periods of time, it's changed dimensionally completely. Today, we are a strategic partnership of a kind where we are working on defense, which has moved on, which was never thought some time back. We have moved on to areas of energy. So there are collaborations and participation in areas which were not even talked about. And I'm sure that these are going to be strengthened moving forwards in the months and years to come. Look at the collaboration that we have established on ISET, the high-tech forum, which again shows how we are really looking at opportunities in areas which are completely new. And then we move on to areas like rare earths, where we will see phenomenal partnership. So I see strategic partnership and commercially, economically, and then moving on to the geoeconomic, geostrategic side, I see the US has a trusted partner in India. And I think that's something which India has played a very important role across the globe. So there's a lot of, I see, bilateral sort of gain, mutual gain in enhancing this relationship, which we have seen between the leaderships of the two countries.
So on that theme, President-elect, when he was President, Trump, emphasized the Quad, and he grew the Quad substantially. He emphasized the term Indo-Pacific as opposed to Asia-Pacific. It's quite interesting that the APEC summit is about to happen. APEC is something that we have been kept out of, but now the focus is shifting to the Indo-Pacific and IPEF. So looking forward, is the Quad and the IPEF, the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, going to become more important to us, and should it become more important to Indian industry, or should we go back to considering the RCEP? Now, my personal problem with RCEP is simple. We already have a free trade agreement with ASEAN. We have one with Korea, we have one with Japan, and with Australia. So the only ones missing are the US and New Zealand. Are China and New Zealand. China has 5,300 non-tariff barriers, which it is not willing to remove. So if we join RCEP, shouldn't we first focus on China's non-tariff barriers? Its tariffs are meaningless.
So, I think we will see a re-emergence of focus and priority on both in the IPEF and APEC. I think Indo-Pacific and Quad, sorry. I think we will see a much more economic agenda and geoeconomics and geopolitics playing a positive role through these forums. That's going to be critical for us, and I think we'll take advantage of it and we'll push it. Now, RCEP is something which we'll need to be careful about in terms of the rules of origin. And we talked about our northern neighbor, but I think the rules of origin is something which is critical. Though you talked about the free trade agreements trade agreements that were established with Japan and Korea in the past, they were established in the past. I see huge scope of renegotiating them in terms of India today, because at that point in time when it was done and the time that we are living now are different, and therefore probably there is huge scope of us looking at. And if you see us going, India going in a way, I see India take, yes, you mentioned about Australia, but we are also looking at other economies. Who thought that we would be able to do this huge deal with the UAE, which is set an example of us being put into a fast track with UK, so to say today. And I would really imagine that discussions which started in the earlier administration of a free trade agreement with the US, I think they would look forward to it, because, again, coming back on trade and trade deals, India would have to, there are economies where we would need to have complementarities much more than than RCEP, where we have no sanctity on the rules of origin. So we should move with our interests in mind as we move into trade agreements in the future.
So specifically as far as the relationship with the US is concerned, I think there will be multiple dimensions to it. Starting with the bilateral, as CB again mentioned about a potential trade deal, to the Quad and other groupings. So I think it's not a question of one or the other, it's a question of all of them working in tandem, and India looking to do what it can to protect its interests and project its power. But specifically, if we were to talk about RCEP or any other free trade agreements, I am all for trade agreements provided they have a level playing field, as I said. And the level playing field is not just in tariffs, but exactly as you pointed out, in terms of the non-tariff barriers, which negate any access that could come otherwise, in terms of rules of origin. And let's not forget that, when we talk about manufacturing competitiveness in India, one of the issues which comes up regularly across industry associations is duty inversion. And a lot of this duty inversion can be ascribed to earlier free trade agreements, where until and unless that review comes up, your hands are sort of tied. So, it's a question of, I think, calibrating your approach, where keep in mind that free trade agreements allow access to technology, allow access to markets, and all of that, but it has to be negotiated well, which I believe the minister and the government are doing very effectively, protecting India's interests. And overall, I think free trade agreements are one arrow in a quiver full of arrows, which work together to ensure that industry is competitive and has access to global markets.
Thank you so much. We've run out of time. What is clear from this discussion is that Indian industry is ready to convert the challenge of Viksit Bharat into a genuine opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Banerjee and Mr. Panda, for sharing those insights, and thank you, Mr. Basu, for steering us through that thought-provoking conversation. Our next guest for the day is a man who has had a transformative impact on India's financial landscape, a man whose vision has led to the Edelweiss Group becoming one of the top investment firms in India. Rashesh Shah embarked on a journey to build a world-class financial institution in 1995. At the time, the firm worked on a private equity syndication and mergers and acquisitions and focused on advisory services. Over the years, it has grown into becoming one of India's most influential financial institutions, offering a wide range of services from wealth management to investment banking and asset management. Under Rashesh Shah's leadership, the Edelweiss Group has not only cemented its place in India, but also expanded its footprint globally. Join us as we welcome Rashesh Shah, the man who turned a small financial boutique into a financial service firm with a net worth of over 8,000 crore rupees. Calling in for a fireside chat along with Niranjan, and also joining us would be Mr. Sandeep Sikka.
Oh yes, joining Mr. Rashesh Shah on stage is another visionary leader who's been put at the forefront of innovation of the asset management and investment industry. Sandeep Sikka joined Nippon Life India Asset Management Limited in 2003, and he was quickly elevated to the role of CEO in just 6 years, becoming one of India's youngest CEOs in the asset management industry. In fact, Mr. Sikka has played a pivotal role in the growth of the businesses, both domestically and internationally. Under his leadership, the company has also acquired Goldman Sachs India business. Throughout the course of his nearly 3-decade-long career, Mr. Sikka has been associated with numerous prestigious organizations, including CII, FICCI, and the Reserve Bank of India. Niranjan Narayanaswamy will be moderating this session.
Thank you, Suesha. Okay, so we have a legend in the house. Mr. Rashesh Shah has seen different governments come and go. You've been around for so many decades, Mr. Shah. In Mumbai, you're a name to reckon with. Sandeep Sikka, one of the most influential mutual fund name in India. I'll start with you, Mr. Rashesh Shah. This year, we've kept the theme of the India Economic Summit as Viksit Bharat Bullseye, right? You've seen the UPA era. You've seen the Modi era, and you've seen the changing financial markets over the decades. Are we on track for the 50 trillion at 2047 that we talk about?
Yeah, actually, before we start, I want to thank all of you, and truly very honored to be here for this very prestigious event. And thank you to Arnab, and congratulations for building such a fabulous campus. Really very impressive, and very honored to be here amongst all of you. And it is actually very appropriately themed conference today, because I think India is at a stage. So, you know, we always keep on thinking a lot of things in India remain the same, but a lot of things keep on changing. So India has been growing. For the last 30 years, we've been steadily growing. Our economy has actually, doubled in size every 6 to 6.5 years for the last 30 years. But what has changed is now we have scale at $4 trillion, and we'll continue to have this. So this growth rate, we will become about 11-12 trillion by 2035. We'll become, say, about 25-30 trillion by 2047. But we are now compounding at scale. So I call it the golden age of compounding for India is underway. And when I see this 5-acre campus and all that, I say this is India not at $4 trillion, but this is what India is going to be in the next, 10 to 15 years. So I think the scale that we are seeing, what we saw, 15, 20 years ago to what we are seeing now is what is going to be amazing. And along with that, what is also changing, and especially last 8-10 years we've seen that, is we are moving from a country of savers to a country of investors.
Yes.
And I think part of your theme today also covers that, is we had a very strong Indian banking system. But I've always believed that we have very strong banks. We have close to 300 crore accounts now in the bank. But banking was about saving money. It was not, when you and I keep money in the bank, we are saving money, we are not investing money.
Yes.
What we are seeing last 8-10 years, and along with the mutual fund industry and the capital markets and insurance growth, is we are now starting to invest money. And as we have seen, any family that saves money is only doing half the job. When you start investing that smartly and get return, the family income really starts galloping away. And that is what we are seeing in India. So we are compounding at scale. We have still a long runway to go. And along with that, we are also changing our color as a country from a country comfortable with saving to a country now getting comfortable with investing.
So well said. And I can actually familiarize myself with that because, we as journalists, most often we don't have time sometimes to, even have a lunch or, because the role of journalists and our work hours are different. It's crazy sometimes, right? But as you grow and as you start having families, and this is the question I wanted to ask Sandeep Sikka, I didn't know about mutual funds too much until recently, right? And I think the role of mutual funds in the growth of the Indian story, like I said, saving is one part of it, investing changes it altogether. And the role of mutual funds in doing that for the Indian, I wouldn't just say middle class. Today, I read somewhere about tier 2, tier 3 cities, the number of people who are investing in the mutual funds industry, right? Sandeep, what have you seen?
No, thanks a lot for having me. And it's very important for me to start by saying I think mutual fund industry is going to play a very big role in Viksit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah.
Because many times what we think mutual fund is about just investing, creating wealth.
Yes.
But I think what you have to understand is, as Rashesh also mentioned, in India, people always confused between savings and investments.
Yes.
Money kept in the bank was assumed it's going to create long-term wealth, but actually it was never the case. So what we are seeing right now is, I think the fact that you, like you mentioned, you were not aware of mutual funds,
Yes.
Believe me, you are majority of India did not know about it. But we are very happy today, I think, because fundamentally it was always mutual funds were subject to market risk, has moved to mutual funds sahi hai. And the fact that in February, Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, mentioned about the role of the mutual fund, because we not only convert household savings for capital formation, a lot of companies which are coming in the morning, we had Ashish talking about new IPOs and all, mutual fund industry is playing a very big role there. But I think the fundamental thing that the mutual fund industry, to your question, the big change that has happened about 20 years back or even 10 years back, the industry was dominated in bigger cities.
Yes.
Today, you'll be happy to know 54% of all new SIPs that come to the industry are coming from smaller cities and towns. And one thing we need to give it, and as an industry, professional industry body, we give a lot of credit to what we have done. But how did this start? The foundation was started by Prime Minister Modi when you see three things change the fortunes of mutual fund industry. Jan Dhan, when you had 70 crore bank accounts which opened. Demonetization, maybe liked by people, not liked by people, but the formalization of the economy, money coming in. Unified KYC, all these things created. So 2014, when Prime Minister Modi came to power at that time, the mutual fund industry AUM was only 9 lakh crores. And today, and when he in February he talked about it, mentioned at that time it was 54 lakh crores. And today it is 70 lakh crores. So I think this is actually a classic case of small investors from small cities and towns investing and participating in the India growth story.
Yeah.
But the most important thing I'm going to touch upon is what the finance minister in the morning talked about, that it's very important to be friendly with all foreign countries, but we have to take care of our economic interest.
Yeah.
What mutual fund industry is doing is with 25,000 crores of monthly SIP, 3 lakh crores, which means technically speaking, we have created an environment where our dependence on FI money has reduced. So never before in the history of country, last month you saw FAI money going out, but 90,000 crores went.
Yes.
But the market did not tank. So this is the power, and this is what we say Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah, and all of us were worried what's happening in the stock markets. And of course, Mr. Rashesh Shah follows, the financial markets very closely. I mean, he's invested his entire life there. You spoke about investing. If you invest, when a family invests, I mean, you invest for yourself, for your family, but for a country to invest and grow richer, you need to create jobs, right? And when you talk about Viksit Bharat, it's not possible to do that without creating jobs. Now, as you've seen the financial markets change and evolve over the years, do you see job creation also happening as it should?
Yeah, actually, it's an important question to ask because as we get older, we also realize that the financial markets don't exist for only the investors to create wealth. That has to be one of the objectives. but it also has to create jobs for the country at large. The problem in answering your question is that we don't know. We can only experience the anecdotal evidence. But even today, if you ask me or if you ask Sandeep, how many people are employed indirectly and directly in the mutual fund industry, the answer will be, we don't know. If you ask us how many people are employed in the capital market, the answer will be, we don't know. If you ask me how many are employed in banking, we don't know. So I think there have been jobs that have got created, but we need to create data about jobs.
Yeah.
And I keep on saying that to all the government agencies and regulators. We do hundreds of filings to SEBI and RBI and IRDA all the time. We should be asked to file how many jobs that we are creating. Yeah. And I think this investing impetus will become more visible, more powerful, and will really allow us to articulate that, yeah, the stock market is doing well, investors are doing well, but the country is also doing well because we are creating jobs. Yeah. Because there are about 100 million people who are investing in the stock market or mutual funds, but there are maybe another 400, 500 million people who are also wanting jobs. Yes. So, and they have to be connected. So I think it is creating jobs, but we need to show evidence of that. We need to articulate that. And we, all of us in the industry, need to speak about, because I think the two main part of investing which gets lost amongst returns, and the market is up and we made 30% return, and if we all talk about stocks that we pick that go up, I think ultimately we have to remember, the idea is to create jobs, but the idea is also to help in capital formation. Yeah. So we do believe that stock market should not be the end objective, it should be the means to an end. Yeah. And the end is, can we create jobs and can we really create capital formation efficiently for the country? Because when it is only via banking, it is not as efficient, and that is what we have seen last 30 years, as the stock markets have also played a role in capital allocation, as the insurance industry has started playing a role in capital allocation and capital formation. Our economic growth has picked up. We used to be at 4-5% growth. Now we have gone to about close to 6-7% growth. I think India's target for Viksit Bharat, if you want to, I think you have this thing, the eye of the
bullseye.
What we call the bullseye. I think for all of us in India, the bullseye has to be, can we get to 10% growth without overheating, without humming and hawing and panting out there? We have got close to that, but every time we get there, we are like out of breath. We are like, like an overheated car. Yeah. I think we need to getting to a, GDP growth of 10%, which is available in India with our investment, with our consumption, with our savings, all of that. When you put together, we can get to 10% growth, and the government, the industry, the investors, all of us have to get together and try and debate saying, should that bullseye target be 10% growth for India? Because at 10% growth, we will truly progress to a per capita income of $8,000-10,000 from current $3,000.
I think, you want to talk about policy as well. I'll come to policy in just a bit. But I want to go back to Sandeep and ask him a question about mutual funds. Because I remember when we first saw the ads or heard the ads of mutual funds on TV, it said, mutual funds are subject to market risks. Please read the terms and conditions carefully before investing, right? To what you said, I found that interesting. You said mutual funds, sahi hai, right? Is it as simple as that? Because when you look at the trends of people investing from villages, tier 2, tier 3 cities, has it become a credible, more solid source of asset creation? How are the trends changing what you have seen in the last few years?
That's very interesting. So let me first start with the data point. 10 years back, mutual funds were just 0.8% of the financial savings in India. Today it is 8%. So that tells you the trends are changing. But I think what's the pulse that we get, I think when we go to small cities and towns, the mutual funds was something, it was an alien product. People did not understand. And people used to always have questions. And I give a lot of credit to the regulator. It's one of the most simple products. It's complicated in the mind, but it's actually very simple. And what we have seen, you'll be surprised, is if you were to buy the Google Trends, the data tells you the mutual fund word is being searched more in smaller cities than bigger cities. The fastest growing cities are, let's take Nasik, Durgapur, smaller cities. And also what's happening is, mutual fund is becoming the first port of call. Because ultimately, it's not very easy to invest. And all of you, like a journalist for you, you have a day job. And I hope you don't start taking mutual funds as your day job, then we won't have a job.
But I should confess, because once you start investing, right, some of these guys give you a dashboard, okay? They give you an app, and then you check what's the valuation, has it gone down, come down? But it's crazy. Last 2 weeks has been crazy. The market's going up and down.
This is exactly what makes it complicated. I think in long-term investing, you have to keep emotions out. I mean, it's a lazy way of investing. You have to invest and keep it for long term. So all the investors who have made money, I think our data shows us, investors who are very smart and who try to trade, and which is also what has come out from SEBI also, investors who trade very often, they don't make money. They make money for somebody else. Yeah. But I think if you create wealth for yourself, focus on your day job, don't look at the portfolio every day.
No, I'll stop doing that.
I'll just add out here, in the investing world, we always use this phrase, where we say investing should be something you do so that you can sleep at night. It should not be something that keeps you awake at night.
Exactly.
So one more trend I should highlight, very interesting. Till now, investing was done for a very different reason. For the first time this Diwali, we saw a very different change. Highest volume of mutual fund ETFs was traded on the stock exchanges on Dhanteras. Till now, Indians wanted to invest in gold physically.
Yes.
Last year it was 80 crores, this time it's almost 450 crores. So the trend is changing, and it's changing faster than what we can expect. And today we have 5 crore unique investors, and I think the day will not be far away. I think you talked about 2047, when I think we will be $50 trillion economy. I think it's our dream and wish. I think every Indian household will be mutual fund investor by then.
You're saying by 2047?
2047.
Well, I mean, of course, I think the way things are going, and he's seen, financial markets change. I mean, from the traditional days of savings in the bank to where we are today, Mr. Rashesh, I want to ask you, because when you look at the culture of investing, when you talk about the culture of investing, what makes India an investment destination? Or do you think there's more we can do in terms of policy? I felt you wanted to talk about it, but you stopped short of doing that.
Yeah, actually, I think the culture of investing is underway in front of all of us. What we're also seeing, what he spoke about gold, we're also seeing it about real assets. REITs have been one big one. When you buy into a REIT, you are actually buying an ownership in that office complex, that IT park. The same way InvIT, when you buy into an InvIT, you are buying into ownership in a road. So I think the investing culture started where you bought a share of Asian Paint, and then you now are a very small owner of Asian Paint. Now we are converting that same ownership of a company into ownership of gold, ownership of a office complex, ownership of a road. So we are actually financializing a lot of assets. Ultimately, every asset can be financialized. Any asset that has a cash flow can be financialized, and that is where the financial architecture of India has evolved. We still have a long way to go. But I think in the last, at least about 15, 20 years, we have started with mutual funds, and we go to InvIT, REIT, AIFs, all of that. All of this instrument, they all look very exciting, but ultimately what they're doing is they're allowing the right asset to be connected with the right investor who can get the cash flow there. Because that is what ultimately investing is all about, that I can put my money maybe on a longer term basis, which gives me a slightly higher return and creates capital for the country. So this entire, I think, proliferation of AIFs, InvITs, REITs have also been another big jump in our investment culture. So earlier it was only banks, then we got banks, mutual funds, capital markets, brokerage, asset management companies, AIFs, InvITs, REITs, and I think this proliferation will allow us to become more and more an investment country. And if you see, I think ultimately we have to step up our investment, our growth rate. Because currently the capital we have, and we are Atmanirbhar on capital. I think India is now fairly self-sufficient on capital, and it's a very bold statement to make, because we always feel we are capital scarce. But I saw the same thing happening on the food front. 30, 40 years ago, India had food scarcity. Now we are fairly self-sufficient. I don't know whether we had surplus or not, but we become fairly self-sufficient on food. What last couple of years have shown us, we have become fairly self-sufficient on capital. At this about 7% growth rate, we have enough capital. We should step it up and use more capital. So if we can step up our growth rate to 8, 9, 10% and use our capital and the capital that comes from overseas through FDI and FPI, we can get to 10% growth rate. And all effort, the capital markets, the investment professional, the government, all of that is how do we get there? And we need a lot more innovation. We need, like, whether ETFs or, like we ourselves created a Bharat bond kind of a product which allows people another product, another opportunity to invest. So I think that would be very, very exciting in the next few years. What we saw in banking, we see in capital market, we see in insurance industry, in the financial sector, if we can create that. And the last part of this that should connect is connect with entrepreneurship. And I know we have quite a few people in the audience who have been entrepreneurs. But what has been, even the growth of capital market, as I said, creating wealth for investors is one byproduct, but it should create jobs, it should create capital formation. The third thing it should create is entrepreneurship. And 30 years ago, 20 years ago, entrepreneurship was mainly in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, kind of, it was restricted there. Now, as we speak about tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, we are seeing entrepreneurship also now. We are seeing entrepreneurs from Kanpur and Varanasi and Bhavnagar and Surat and Indore also now accessing capital, accessing investment capital, which allows them to grow. So I think that will be another very exciting part of India, is we can democratize entrepreneurship in India. And we saw that. I think it happened in sports, about 30, 40 years ago, where Kapil Dev came from, earlier all cricketers came from Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai. And then suddenly in the 80s, we had Kapil Dev who came from Chandigarh. And then now we have a whole, we had MS Dhoni, all of that. So what happened in cricket, I think should happen with entrepreneurship in this, and the capital markets and the investment community should also facilitate that.
Okay, I have a couple of questions to both of you before we end the session. Sandeep, to you. This morning, Mohandas Pai, he's a very tough critic of the Modi government. He's also a very strong backer of the Modi government, right? And he used a very interesting term when he said, liberate businesses from Delhi. He said, liberate us from Delhi and watch us grow, right? So the reason I'm saying that is how much of policy contributes to businesses having a free run? I mean, in the changes that you've seen, especially in the last 11 years, how much does that contribute to flourishing?
No, I think where I started from, if you see the success of the mutual fund industry, and why specific I'm talking mutual fund industry, because that's a capital contributor to various other industries, is because of a strong foundation and the framework that has been created by the government. And many times what happens, whenever the government will try to create something, there will be people may think it's not right because it does not suit person A, it may suit person B. But I think we have to see clearly from the long-term point of view, and specifically when we talk of businesses like ours, where you're taking public money. There is a very strong foundation, a rule framework, which has to be there and needs to be respected by the industry. I think I can, the other point I think that you mentioned, what Prime Minister Modi has done today, I think is the biggest thing is the wealth that is getting created in the smaller cities and towns. See, it's not just about, it's very easy to say, this is right, this is wrong, because everybody has an opinion.
But he encourages that.
No, but the point is very different. Today, everything, whether Rashesh mentioned, I mentioned, the kind of wealth that is getting created in smaller cities and towns, that is the real, the proof that everything is going right in the country.
Yeah.
We can always have some issues, someone may have a different opinion, but I firmly believe, country is in safe hands, and I think there is no reason why we will not be touching $50 trillion.
Great. Rashesh?
I think on that I would add, I think we all need, obviously, rules and regulations are required for any civilized society, especially industries where you are taking third-party capital. I think, but what we need to continuously do is, and it's actually a very oxymoronic statement to make, we have to regulate and deregulate at the same time. Because what happens is, you keep on adding regulation, a lot of them, they get outdated.
Yes.
The need has gone away because the market practices evolved, competition
Why don't you be specific? What do you want deregulated? Do you feel the government is slow in making those changes, evolving with the times?
Not just India, I think all over the world.
Yeah.
What happens is we keep on adding new regulation as per the new needs of the marketplace, new needs of the industry. But all over the world, there is conversation going on that we need to also take out the old rules which were formed 18, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and if you want, I think we had, FICCI and all constantly make long lists of rules which are outlived their purpose. Rules and regulations, even in the capital market, there are a lot of rules which have outlived the purpose because the market is evolved. It was required 18, 20 years ago.
Yes.
But the only point I want to add is we add rules on top of rules. If we say that, mere Albina mein, I have only so much space for rules and regulation. If I have to add new rules, I have to take out some old rules. That will keep the churn going, but that will also facilitate innovation, because who is the biggest victim of over-regulation? The biggest victim of over-regulation, it creates entry barriers for new firms.
Yes.
It stops innovation. Yeah. And the incumbents enjoy it. I mean, any incumbent in the heart of their heart are happy with a very high entry barriers, because it keeps your life easier. Yeah. So we have to create a culture, which is hard to do in any country, including ours. Can we constantly say we will add rules, but we'll also constantly look at, and in the recent past, Modi government has done stuff. They've also decriminalized a lot of acts in the Companies Act and all that. We need to do a lot more of that, and we need to do rule making and rule removing at the same time.
Okay. If I can ask you both before we end, 30 seconds I'll give to each one of you. You made a very interesting point at the end. You said despite the monies that went out of the market, you see why it's still stable, right? In 30 seconds, your prediction of the Indian financial market, the stock markets, where do you see them headed? In 30 seconds.
I don't think so anybody in the room can predict where the stock markets are headed. But I think what is very important to understand, stock market is a reflection of the economy. If the economy does well, the stock market will also do well. So again, I think, and for me, when I say this, I always say direction is more important than speed.
Yes.
So as a country, we are in the right direction. Yeah. Now, even if the 2047, whether will be 50 can be 49 or could be 52, that's not important. But important, directionally, we are going there. And from a stock market point of view, if you were to see this way, today we are about 3.5 trillion. If that was to go up 10 times, so there's no reason. I mean, if stock market keeps getting reflected, the same valuations get reflected, you can calculate it yourself, but we can't predict.
Yeah. Rasheshji.
I started my career in 1989, where the Bombay Stock Exchange was about 700. It's now 80,000. So you can calculate, about close to 35 years, the market is more than 100x, 120x. Is what I have seen. I wish I knew that at that time. Yes. But if you work backwards, I think a 13-14%, given our economic growth, a 13-14%. So on a long term or a long kind of direction, market will be up. Will it always be up? No. It will be highly volatile. So I can only say two things. In the long term, it will be up, but it will be highly volatile, which will make it interesting for media and all that, because every day markets will go up, will come down, there will be headlines out there. But for a real investor, I think markets grow as India grows.
Yes.
You should remember that.
Absolutely. Mr. Rashesh Shah, Sandeep Sikka, thank you for joining us at the India Economic Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
जीना चाहिए। प्रकृति परमेश्वर ने जो सारी संरचना की है वो ऐसी ही की है, लेकिन व्यक्ति निराशाओं में, हताशाओं में, कुंठाओं में इतना खो जाता है। इसलिए भगवत गीता का विवेकानंद जी से पूछा कि आपको कौन सा श्लोक सबसे ज्यादा प्रिय है। क्लैब्य मास्म गम पार्थ नैतत्व उपद्यते क्षुद्र हृदय दौर्बल्यम त्यक्ता उत्तिष्ठ परंतप। हमें बड़ी सोच, कड़ी मेहनत और पक्की
has led Info Edge with sheer brilliance. A dreamer and achiever, Bhikchandani is also the co-founder of Ashoka University, a liberal arts institution. As a new age venture capitalist, Bhikchandani is the modern day Midas who turns every startup he touches into gold. With brands such as Naukri.com, Jeevansathi.com, 99acres.com, Shiksha.com, NaukriGulf.com under his sleeve, Bhikchandani is a university in itself for anyone who aspires to be a startup founder.
That's right, Suesha. And it's my pride to introduce the next co-panelist, who is someone with over 20 years of global experience. That's in investment management and business operations. And it is our great pride to introduce Sarabir Singh, the CEO of PolicyBazaar.com, who has been a seasoned investment manager throughout his career. An IIT Delhi alumnus and a master's in business administration from the IIM Ahmedabad, Singh was an investor running the Westbridge Capital as its managing partner well before joining PB Fintech in 2019.
In fact, Mr. Bhikchandani and Mr. Singh will be in conversation with Mr. Sameer Manchanda. Sameer Manchanda, who's a qualified chartered accountant with nearly 4 decades of experience in the media industry. As a serial entrepreneur, he has successfully established multiple ventures, showcasing his business acumen and innovative spirit. Currently, he dedicates his time to mentoring startups, guiding the next generation of entrepreneurs. His extensive industry knowledge and leadership that have made him a respected figure in the media sector. Let's give a huge round of applause to all the 3 gentlemen as they'll be talking on India's digital economy and tech boom.
Welcome to this session on AI and digital technologies. We live in an era where AI and digital technologies are reshaping every aspect of our lives. How we work, how we communicate, and how we solve pressing problems. In fact, billions and billions of dollars are being spent on AI worldwide. NVIDIA has become the largest company by market cap, overtaking Apple. They make GPUs. That's a market cap of $3.62 trillion. So we've seen the internet revolution. We are now in the starting phase of the AI revolution, as to say. I'm going to ask this question to Sanjeev, because he's the one who's actually played a very important role in the internet revolution, and saying, what does he think about this? Where are we in the AI phase?
So I think it's pretty clear now. I know 6 months ago or 1 year ago, when somebody asked me a question that what impact will AI have in India, I used to say, we are waiting and watching, right? But today, just in 6 months, it's pretty clear that AI will go everywhere. Every product, every application, it will go everywhere. And we are seeing it. The number of startups we're seeing in AI right now to invest in, every second or third startup is either an AI startup or has got AI deeply embedded in the offering. If I look at Naukri, if I look at InfoEdge, we've got a team of 100 people working on AI, analytics, data sciences. And in the last 2 years, we have churned out about 22 products and new features based on AI. So AI will be helping existing companies do their work better. It will be new companies based totally on AI, and new concepts and businesses coming up. So we've invested, for example, in a company called Gyani, which is like a call center in a box. It's a robo voice bots using AI, and their clients are financial service companies for selling loans and for collecting money, and it's all robocalls.
Just tell me one thing when you said fascinating. When you're saying it's a robo, means this is no people. It's just one box from a one room
It's
place?
a software. It's a software.
It's just a software?
Yeah. No people.
That's interesting.
So, so we tried it out, and I could not make out I was not talking to a human being. And they're doing all languages, vernacular, Indian, the right accent. They're having conversations. It's not press 1 to do this and do. It's not IVR. It's have a conversation, and you can't make out it's. And in fact, they asked me for introduction to Policy Bazaar, saying,
Sarabir, if I ask the same question to you, what are you seeing in the industry, and are you doing something in your company?
So I think we are kind of one step below. Sanjeev is an investor in lots of companies apart from obviously their business. We are using AI to improve our business and improve our customer experience. So if you look at our business today, we use AI starting from the perspective of when a person comes to our website, when they interact with the website, what are they looking for, when they talk to our agents, as Sanjeev, obviously painted a picture where perhaps we won't need human agents, but right now we have humans. So what we are doing is that we are using AI to improve the effectiveness of the humans. whether it's in terms of understanding what the customer is saying, whether it's in terms of once they've spoken to us, being able to transcribe what they have said and to suggest what next to do with them, whether it is to measure risk. So we are in the insurance business. Risk is a very important part. So we try to optimize for risk. And finally, to improve our own cost efficiencies. So I think in the last, I would say 1.5 years, see, AI has actually been around since the 60s. But I think in the last 3 years or 2 years, because of ChatGPT, the focus on generational AI has become very, very big. And I think that is leading to a whole bunch of applications. And we are all, hopefully, we are at the forefront of all that, at least as far as insurance is concerned, because that's a huge opportunity for us as we go forward.
Sanjeev, as he discussed ChatGPT, I mean, so Microsoft invested OpenAI, ChatGPT, you have Google Bard, and you have Llama of Meta, and you have the others. All these they're making investments, setting up their own LLM, all the initial platforms. Because of they're all doing that, do you think that specific applications which will come on above them, will that, by them doing investing in there, will that accentuate the use of AI or percolate the AI down to common people of us to see easily?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, see, if you go back in a little bit of history, so at InfoEdge, we've been working on AI stuff since about 2008 or 9, right? But you have traditional AI, which is rule-based stuff, and you have generative AI, which is where you can create new content, right? This is new, okay? And what we are now seeing the excitement around is, generative AI. And you mentioned, Llama, you mentioned, ChatGPT, others. Now, those kind of foundational models are hard to do. They're expensive to do. The kind of compute power you need, the number of, the engineers, the quality of engineers you need, the money you need. I don't think too many people in India are capable of doing that. Sarkar kar sakti hai. 1 or 2 large industry groups can do it, but not a lot of people do that.
I agree.
But what is happening in India, and when we're seeing a lot of stuff, that people are doing vertical apps built on LLMs.
Based on LLMs.
Okay, and those vertical apps, they're building a moat, they're building a competence in that area, they're building a business. Okay, and we're seeing a lot of that. And I think what we have in India is a lot of data, because 1.4 billion people and billion smartphones will create a lot of data. So India's got data, India's got people, India's got use cases, India's got vernacular languages. Right? You can do a lot of stuff around AI, but we are less likely as a country to do foundational LLMs. That is less likely.
Yeah, unlikely. I quite agree with that. Requires a lot of investments.
Yeah.
But do you think by making these specific apps, because at the end of the day, these will be all apps, specific apps, some could be to the insurance industry, could be healthcare, which is there, everybody else is doing it. Are we what stage are we in making these apps? Are we in the first few years? Will it take 3 years, 5 years? Or as some people say, this is a decade of AI, then, where are we in the middle?
So I have been personally surprised by the speed at which this thing is happening. Like I told you, 6 months ago, I was saying wait and watch. Right now, I'm saying it's happening right now. So a large number of startups are emerging, doing stuff in AI. And, we, in our VC fund, we are saying, listen, why aren't we doing more AI companies?
So, Saurabh, one I can understand with this AI and your use of, because there's so much of data available, as you saw, that the customer interface, and it just becomes better. And so that's definitely this thing which can be done. Is there any other thing beyond, is there something else which can accentuate your industry, or which means makes insurance accessible to all? Or is there a chance of accentuating or the advantage of insurance and all that and making it explode 10 times, 100 times?
Sure. I think we are at a point, if I were to just address the previous question that you asked. See, we are at an early stage. I mean, in a way, the iPhone has been invented and, there's a bit of a platform. Now the apps are emerging. Now there will be apps like, let's say, a Facebook, which will be completely, new to the world and will change the whole thing completely. There will be smaller ones like Candy Crush, which will come and go, and then there will be some which will be absorbed by the platforms themselves. So some work. So I think as we look at insurance, we feel that the opportunity is to do sort of work on groundbreaking sense, which means that, let's say, today if I have to have a person speaking in a native language, I need to have those many people, right, who have that capability. Whereas why can't I now present, maybe in some of these cases, some of these robo-agents, who can at least maybe not take on the full task, right? We still believe that AI will need a human element. Maybe it's our hope, but we believe that humans will be required. And so we like to call it AI with a human in the loop. Right? So we think that what the AI can do is help us, the robo-agent can help have the initial conversation in the language that the customer wants, and then pass it on to a right person. Then, that allows us to handle a much larger number of people. So I think the opportunities will be to do things which are not possible today. Because right now we are doing things that we already doing a little bit better. But I think the real breakthrough will come when we are able to do things that are not possible, which is maybe serve people in, let's say, 100 languages, maybe serve them when they want it to be. So today, I'm open only up to a certain point. Maybe now somebody wakes up at 2 in the morning, they can do it. So I think we have to increase the surface area of insurance for us to really make it groundbreaking. And I really think that those use cases are emerging. It's going to take some time, but I think they are emerging, and I sure hope that Policy Bazaar is at the forefront of all of that.
No, that's great. I mean, so that is because it can and has the power to metamorphosize the industry or everything else, to touch every aspect of your life. And, of course, right now we haven't seen those products come out, as you're saying, but we've seen the starting of the testing. In a way.
And I'll just give you another example. See, in insurance, the biggest challenge is the claim, right? So people are confused as to how they should make a claim. How should they go through that process? Whereas now with this, if I am able to again put out a really good robo-advisor or again with a human, I can actually guide them through the whole process, rather than having to wait for agents, having to wait for somebody to come in between. And as we know, minute there's somebody in between, various things happen. So I think the potential is huge. We have to make it happen.
No, that's a big thing, because if that's this thing with the say claims take a long time, cannot be, and you've seen your ads and other ads saying how do you make claims get better and faster, and you'll be there. This can really be a game changer there.
Sure.
Sanjeev, what are you seeing in every way in the entire industry, if you look at it? I'm saying, this was insurance particular to him, but...
No, what we are saying is that, listen, you have very young people coming, okay, and they're thinking of new solutions because they're not constrained by legacy. They're not constrained by, hey, this is how a call center should work, or this is how this process should work, or this is what should be done or not done, right? And some of the stuff they're building is quite interesting. So think of a situation where Naukri gets 25,000 resumes a day. We've got 103 million resumes. Think of a situation where you can conduct a mock interview for job training. Somebody looks at I'm looking for this kind of job in this kind of company. This is my CV. You can conduct an interview, and you can give feedback. It's not there yet, but I expect it to be there in a year or two.
That's fast.
And this is a service that does not exist. So this is not displacing people, but this is actually training people to think through their CV, the projects, the job they're looking for, and become better at giving answers.
We've heard and read and saying that one of the biggest advantages could be the advantage to the healthcare, or making medical accessible to the poor and the villages. In the form because of basic things could be there and the doctor can really see it in time. Where do you think we are on that? Because that's something which could really change.
Yeah, so I think, now healthcare is a tricky one because you do need expert,
but roughly...
There will need to be a human in the loop. There will need to be a doctor who's ratifying any advice being given or any prescription. I don't think we are ready, or maybe AI is not there yet, to just dispense medical advice without a qualified doctor looking at it. But you can certainly massively improve productivity. Right? You can, instead of one doctor seeing, so my father was a doctor and in the government, and, he used to be in the Ramanoor Lohiya Hospital, and on his OPD days, he'd see about 60 patients in a day, right? Large numbers, government hospital, large numbers, right? Maybe he can see 300.
Could be, you're right. And there's so much data available, as you're saying, it could increase productivity.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, digitalization of data and sorting the data and making it available could help final diagnosis too.
But we have seen in the past, companies that will interpret an X-ray and MRI scan because they've got a large database back there, and this means that. But even so, a radiologist or an X-ray technician would have to sign off.
Yeah, that is a must, because naturally human lives are involved. What are you seeing now as far as digital now? If you move away from the AI to real digital and the internet, what's keeping you busy? What's your next jewel that you're finding out besides Zomato and the others and all those? Now, where are you in that phase, or do you see any other opportunities come out in this area?
So look, we don't do it top down. We don't identify a sector and say, yahan pe dekho, yahan pe dekho. We do it bottom up. We see about 1,000 companies a quarter. We have 1,000. I mean, we don't meet 1,000.
No,
we
but
see
1,000 ideas.
We look at them, right? We invest in maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 in a quarter. So the filter is pretty, we filter a lot, right? But we do it bottom up. I mean, if somebody had told us in 2008, I think you should look at the insurance comparison sector. The sector didn't exist. There was no company. We would never have invested in Policy Bazaar, right? Likewise, in 2010, Zomato, if you told us, why don't you look at the restaurant listing sector? There was no sector. So when you're investing in category-creating companies, right, you're investing behind first movers. The industry does not exist. The sector does not exist. So you go and you just see what's bubbling up, who's doing what. If you're doing interesting stuff, team looks good, then you might go behind them. And we don't worry a lot about market size at that stage. Because you're creating a new category market, agar company kamyab hui, market ban jayega, right? I mean, Naukri was not meant to be a large company when we first started. In fact, we got rejected by a venture capitalist first up, saying, raising our first round, and this is venture capitalists who asked us that, so what's the total size of the appointment ad market in print? And I said, I don't know, maybe 400 crores. It's okay. What's the price difference between a job listing on Naukri and an ad in print? And I said, 1:1,000. He says, if you get 100% share, you will shrink the market to 40 lakhs. So I'm not interested in investing. And he walked away. So we don't look, it's okay to invest in a company which looks like the market size is small, because that company will create the market. In Policy Bazaar, there was no insurance comparison, not a practice. We don't know what the market will be.
Correct.
But we said, there's something here. Let's invest and see what happens.
That's very interesting. And Sarbir, what are you? Are you looking at, I'm saying you're a listed company, so I can't ask you any forward-looking statements, or I can't ask you acquisitions, or I can't ask you. But where are you seeing, how are you seeing this insurance industry pan out? And are you seeing, with the various, you've seen the mutual fund industry, as they were talking about, grow exponentially. Is that happening with insurance becoming more and more people getting insured?
Yeah, see, India has 2 broad challenges, right? One is that we have a large and growing middle class, and the way our economic structure is that they don't have social security, or we can't afford social security at this stage for the middle class. The government has to look after the poorer sections. So I think as this middle class grows, they need to protect themselves from, what we call death, disease, and disability. And these are realities of life. So if you think about it, that's what insurance is all about, that a large number of people contribute a small amount of money, and something happens to a person and that person gets paid out, right? So I think insurance is perfectly suited to the Indian context. I think it's something that is required for the country to grow and for us to achieve the ambitions, etc., that we have. So I think in that sense, we are very lucky that we are in a sector which will and should continue to grow quite well. I think the second big trend in the country is what we are talking about, which is digital India and digitization. And I think that is again another thing that we are sitting on top of. So I think we have these 2 broad trends. So we try to stay very focused on these 2 things. And we are trying to deepen our horizons. So like you spoke about healthcare, we are now looking at, healthcare as a enabler for our business. To say that yes, in insurance, claims is a moment of truth. How can we have a smoother claims experience, and can we do something from that perspective? So I think we see our core business having huge growth, huge runway for growth, and we are trying to do things which will unlock that growth and make sure that customers, get a good experience. So I think, as we all, I think in this room would like to believe that India will do extremely well in the decades ahead. So I think our industry will also do very well. But we just have to make sure that we serve customers well. Because in the end, customers will buy things that they are satisfied with. And that's really our focus, I would say.
Sanjeev, one last question, that you run companies and you've made very successful investments. When you said you look at it, you don't look at everything, you look bottoms up. Are there any top 2 or 3 criteria which make things stand out?
I think the first thing we look at, the first question we want to answer is, will the customer want this? Is there any evidence? Is there any hook? Is there any logic? What do you think? Will the customer want this? In the case of Policy Bazaar, I met Yashish, and now there's no PowerPoint even, there's no product, nothing. This is a conversation. And he said, I'm willing to bet that you are paying 60% more for your car insurance than you need to. And I said, don't be daft. I've bought a standard car from a good dealer. It's a public sector insurance policy I bought. The dealer sold it to me, impossible. And he says, okay, take out your car papers. So they were there with me in the office, and I took them out. And he said, okay, fine. He took the car model, the year, all of that. Mileage, roughly, he asked me. And in half an hour, he came back with 6 quotes. And sure enough, the lowest quote was about 40% lower than what I was paying. Okay, and I said, what is this? He said, Dekho, different insurers price the same risk differently. And therefore, you're not sure you're buying the cheapest policy ever. So price comparison is important, and that's what we want to do. We want to build a price comparison engine. So compare before you buy insurance. Now, this is one demo, and it was clear to me the customer would want this. Because if the price variation is so large in a country like India...
you saw that yourself. You saw the proof of the pudding.
Yeah, likewise in Zomato, we were using it, and we liked it, and the differentiator was it was the only restaurant listing site with all the menu cards. Right? And I asked Dipinder, ye idea kahan se aaya to get the menu cards? And he said, I used to work in Bain Consulting and in Gurgaon, and working hours were long, and you'd end up eating 2 meals in the office, and often at a cafeteria which would not serve food. But they had got a file folder of menu cards of all the restaurants that deliver there. But 1 baje, there'd be a big line to access that file. So one weekend I came and I scanned all the menu cards and uploaded them on my personal page on the office intranet. And within 3 days, 95% of the internal office traffic was going to my page. So market had given me a signal.
You can see the change. So that's the big thing. That you see that the idea has a need.
The first thing is, will the customer want? Yeah. Second is quality of team.
Right. The management.
Yeah. Okay. And then the 5-6 other criteria.
So Ravi, as he said about the policy thing, which did, any words of advice for what does it do to reduce this thing? It's not that this session was on digital, but I'd say if you're going to end on anything else or any policy advice that you feel like that was the thing which is happening, or what's the next policy that you're bringing out?
No, I think the first thing I would suggest is that everyone should have health insurance and term insurance. Unfortunately, while a lot of us know about it, we, especially looking at some of the younger people in this audience, they may not think that they need it. But I think all of us need it. So I would first say that buy insurance, buy the right kind of health and term insurance. Second thing I would say is that once you have made up that decision, look at the different types of policies, make sure you understand the terms and conditions so that you are not surprised at the other end. And then I think I would just say that India has great products, actually. If you look at the insurance products in India are actually very, very good as compared to global sort of benchmarks. So I would not hesitate too much. And like I said, the first decision is buy, rather than worrying too much about which one to buy. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sameer. Thank you, Sarbir Singh. Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, for joining us on this panel. speaker is a rising star in Indian politics and a driving force behind the nation's burgeoning aviation sector. As the Union Civil Aviation Minister, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu is spearheading India's transformation into a global aviation powerhouse. His journey is truly remarkable. From a young MBA graduate to a dynamic parliamentarian who at the age of 26 became one of the youngest MPs in the country. His recent landslide victory in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections further solidifies his position as a leader with a promising future. Ram Mohan Naidu is a progressive voice advocating for crucial issues. Join us as we welcome this visionary leader, a young politician in his 30s, shaping India's future with passion and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, the Union Civil Aviation Minister, Ram Mohan Naidu. I request Shravan Sen to come up on stage to moderate this session. Can we have the AV, please?
Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu, do swear in the name of God.
At just 36, Ram Mohan Naidu is a dynamic force in Indian politics and aviation. As the Union Civil Aviation Minister, he's leading India's aviation sector into a new era, turning it into one of the world's fastest growing aviation markets. Guided by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision for Udan Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik scheme, India's airports under the leadership of Ram Mohan Naidu handles over 300 million passengers annually. The initiative so far has connected 55 nondescript destinations, making air travel more accessible to millions of Bharatvasis. Ram Mohan Naidu was only 26 when he made his mark as one of the youngest parliamentarians in 2014, winning from Srikakulam. Winning his recent victory in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, where he secured a massive win with an impressive margin of 3.27 lakh votes, Mr. Naidu has not only cemented his place as one of the country's most dynamic and forward-thinking politicians, but also showed that he is here for a long and illustrious political innings. His rise from a young MBA graduate working in Singapore to becoming a passionate advocate for youth empowerment is not only commendable, but truly inspiring. Known for his progressive thinking, Mr. Naidu was one of the first parliamentarians to advocate for menstrual health education and sex education in Parliament, championing the removal of GST on sanitary pads to ensuring better access to women's health products across India. From policy reform to aviation transformation, Mr. Naidu is a young leader shaping India's future with vision, passion, and purpose.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I get a chance to interview someone of my age. Ram Mohan Naidu is exactly of my age and the youngest minister.
Thank you so much.
And Ram, I must say this because not many, perhaps in the audience, really know what you have gone through. I want to start with the struggle, the story of Ram Mohan Naidu and how he actually came into politics. We all know that he is the youngest cabinet minister, but someone who was not destined to be a politician to begin with, someone who was in Singapore and thereafter a tragic incident in his life and he was brought into politics. Your story first.
Like you said, I went to the US for my education. I did my bachelor's and my MBA from the United States, and I came back. I was always with the idea that politics is not my cup of tea. Though my father comes from a very strong political legacy, and he has established himself as one of the tallest leaders from Andhra Pradesh and in fact in the national politics also. But for some reason, since the growing up days, it was always like politics is just up to him and I would do something of my own, probably some kind of business or something. But very unfortunate that I had to lose him at a very young age in an unfortunate road accident. And then destiny has brought me back to politics. And I was faced with that question at the time when I lost my father, that there was an opportunity in front of me. Will I be continuing his legacy or not? And at that time, it was a split decision that I've taken, that being an educated man, this is what you want to see in the country. This is what people expect to see, the change in politics, where they want young people to come in. No matter if I say that it's a destiny-driven decision, I would say it is a calculated decision, in the sense that I wanted to bring about the change where youth also can feel that this is an area where they can come in, where they can perform, where they can feel the purpose, and they can feel that this is an area which is related to us also. And it was that small commitment that I had at that time, that small change that I wanted to believe in. And it is with that belief that I came in, and rest is history. You're seeing me as the youngest cabinet minister in the country. I think that itself shows the belief that I had at the time.
Can I then ask you, because your predecessors were of the age between 51 and 72 or 73.
I think I just screwed up the statistics a little bit. Otherwise, young in politics is probably 40, 50 also. People were considering it to be young.
Yeah, they are
now,
still
being
young.
36, I'm an outlier, and I've tried to...
But when you handle the ministry, do the bureaucrats really take you seriously?
Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, they definitely do. That much I can vouch for, because they respect the position that I'm in, irrespective of the age. Like, let it be the bureaucrats that are around me, or let it be the other ministers also who are around me, who have been seeing me for the last 10 years at least. They understand the position that we are in right now, and they definitely respect me, and they definitely give value to the choices that I make or the decisions that I make. So I think the Indian political system respects the positions more than the age. It's just that there is little opportunity for people my age to come to these positions at a very young age. So if you see more and more, I think that's a good transition that the country is expecting to see.
Lest we get called as ageist, let's now get into the brass tacks of your ministry. The Prime Minister essentially spoke about the aviation growth story. And if today India's annual growth of more than 6% can be augmented, it can be through the aviation industry, and it's no longer limited to the elite class. Having said that, we still are far away, miles away from becoming an aviation global hub. How far have we reached?
There are many more things that we need to achieve, but one thing which I can proudly say is that the way that we have grown in aviation, especially in the last 10 years, and this success has been largely driven by the passion of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. 2014, I'll tell you some basic numbers which gives you the comparison of the growth that we have achieved in the country. 2014, we had 74 airports in the country. And today, in just 10 years, we have doubled it up to 157 airports. And the travelers, we used to have around 10 crore, and now we have around 20 crore passengers, more than 20 crore actually. And then if you look at the aircraft fleet, we were having 400 aircrafts in 2014, and now we have more than 800 in the fleet. So we have almost doubled the numbers in just 10-year phase. And no other country in the world has seen this much growth in civil aviation. That is why I say it has been a passionately driven success by the Prime Minister that we have achieved today. And we take pride in that success, and we still believe that there is a lot more achievable things for the country to do. And but the foundation has been laid. And one of the things that we want to target, I'll just put what we want to achieve in a couple of points. One is what you have said, we want to be a global hub for aviation. Right. And when we talk about global hub, we want to create our airports to be these mega airports where they can be transit airports from the whole east of the world to the west of the world. And that is something we are strongly pursuing now that we have made our foot stronger in the aviation field. We want to achieve the aviation hubs in Delhi Airport, Bangalore Airport, Hyderabad Airport, and many of the other metropolitan city airports. And the other thing that I would take a little more deeper into aviation. See, aviation, when you talk about it, you generally talk about the airports and the aircrafts. But I'm talking a little more deeper in the sense about the job creation that aviation brings to the country, the opportunities that it brings other than just traveling, which is the MRO business. MRO business is something which we still have a lot of potential in. There, 95% of engine MRO still happens outside the country, so we are targeting to have it in the country itself. Now, what is a $2 billion industry? In the next 7 years, we want to make it $4 billion industry. So that is one target that we have. And the other thing is the other aspects of aviation. Just like we have the aircrafts, we have seaplanes, we have helicopters, we have drones. So how do we access the potentiality of these different sectors in aviation and try to achieve the success that India strives to achieve? So these are some of the targets that we have kept, and we are exploring all these different venues.
There's a paradox here. You have come a long way from the time of, say, for example, Modi Luft to East West Airlines to an Indigo and several others today. But having said that, why is it that India still does not have a brand, say, for example, like an Emirates or an Etihad? Is there something still pulling us back?
No, I believe that what Indigo is trying to do or Air India is trying to do, it is trying to set its operations or its expectations according to the Indian ethos. It is first getting its operations tailor-made for the Indian customer. So what you're seeing in the Indian aviation today is what India expects, what India wants, what India desires. And when you're moving in that direction, you don't need to compare yourself with any Emirates or American Airlines or some other Qantas Airlines or all these. So we are purely looking, see, this is the strength that Modi has brought to us. That view the country, view the business from the Indian point of view. Don't just look at what the world is doing and everything. You, as a country, are strong enough to do things the way you want it. So we are also driving that spirit forward, that India, what it needs, let us take that into account. See, our whole mantra for Indian aviation today, how Modi ji says is that, Hawai chappal se Hawai jahaj ka safar. Now, हवाई चप्पल से हवाई जहाज का सफ़र तो एमिरेट्स से कैसे होगा? अपने यहाँ से एयरलाइंस को ऐसे बनाना है कि हवाई चप्पल वाले को भी अच्छा लगे कि वो जा सके. And one of the important things is to make it affordable. So these are some of the concepts that we have in mind. We are looking at the Indian market. We are looking at the Indian passenger. We are looking at the Indian consumer, and then trying to develop our airlines.
But how do you do that? Because when we are a very price-conscious, society. Yes. And when you have a particular sector to a tourist area costing you more than 10,000 rupees and there is no capping to it, yes, it becomes even more difficult for anyone with a Hawaii chappal to be in an aircraft.
That is definitely a challenge here, because the aviation market itself is a very sensitive market and it depends on many different aspects. And one of the major things which affects the prices is the fuel price itself, which takes a majority share of the air prices that we pay. And how do we address this? This also, we have another scheme under our ministry, which is the UDAN scheme, Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, where we are trying to connect the unserved and underserved airports of the country. Now, you know that we have created 157 airports. That is just creating the infrastructure. But the real challenge lies in how do you connect these airports. When it becomes a challenge for connecting the airports, we have brought in the UDAN scheme, where we have said to the airlines that if you are not able to run in these routes, where the common man usually tries to connect to the aviation, then we are going to pay you a viability gap funding. And through the scheme, you would be surprised that we have started 600 new routes in the last 7 years since we have started this scheme. It was a hugely successful scheme, and it has become so successful now the states, the airports, the local regions, they are asking like, ab hamare bhi udaan se chala do, ab hamare bhi udaan se chala do. Because it has become a major driver of connecting these unserved and underserved airports. We were able to bring in new routes. And one, we have brought the prices down because the viability gap funding, we are assisting the airlines through the UDAN. So the airlines feel that, okay, if we don't fill in the seats, we don't need to charge the existing guy more, but we can get some support from the government also. So this is one intervention that we have done as the ministry, so that the prices don't rise more than what the people expect them to be.
What are we to expect, say, for example, in the next coming few years? The Prime Minister laid a roadmap for 2047 as to achieving certain targets. What is it that you see in the near future being completed, and something that is going to be very different than what we've seen in other countries which are struggling at this point in time, particularly in the aviation industry?
See, one thing we still have is the economies of scale. India is such a growing country, and it has become very aspirational. So whatever momentum we have created in Indian aviation for the last 10 years, we want to continue it. The number of airports, what we are looking at 157 today, by 2047, the Viksit Bharat 2047, we want to create it up to 350 airports. We feel that there is a potential for India to have an airport at every 150 kilometer distance. So we can reach to 350 or more than that also. That is the planning that we are doing now. On top of that, we are encouraging the airlines also to buy more airplanes and bring them into the Indian fleet. And we have the highest number of orders for any airlines in the whole world. We have 1,500 aircrafts waiting to be delivered. We have already ordered for 1,500 aircrafts. That's going to increase our number to one of the biggest in the whole world itself. On top of that, we are exploring different avenues. Like I said, if you look at helicopters, we are still lagging behind in that helicopter network. India as a country has around 260 helicopters, whereas Brazil as a country has up to 600 helicopters. And if you talk about China, maybe 800 helicopters. So we have an opportunity to capture the helicopter network. So one thing under the leadership of Modi ji we are trying to look at is to increase the helicopter network. We want to build up more heliports, especially in the regions where they feel that we want an airport because we want to fly from here. Airports is a challenging task. You need up to 600-700 acres or more than 700 acres. It is not possible in all terrains or all regions. So we want to give air connectivity there through heliports. And now another option that we are looking at is seaplanes. We have launched the seaplane. We have modified the guidelines for seaplanes, and we have just done a demo seaplane activity in Andhra and Kerala also in the previous 2 days. And there is a lot of excitement around it because, again, the seaplane connectivity gives you multiple options, unimaginable amount of options for you to land and take off. Anywhere you see a water body which is 5-meter depth and with a range of 200 meters, you can land a seaplane there. So imagine the kind of connections that you can have across the country, especially to the islands, especially to the northeast areas or difficult areas. So seaplane activity is something which we want to improve. We are taking Maldives as an example, and we want to create India also as a seaplane hub in the world. And on top of that, drones. Drones, there is an ample amount of opportunity for the government to offer its services, especially when it comes to surveillance or agriculture or construction. There are many fields where drone technology can revolutionize.
But what about the regulations, particularly with drones?
We, as the ministry, our role is majorly the regulatory role itself. So we want to, whatever aspects that, let me talk about seaplanes, let me talk about helicopters or the drones. What I'm looking at is how will I make the regulation for more players to come inside, more people to operate in this, and make the prices more affordable and give the access to the 140 crore citizens of this country. So my job is to connect all these technologies to each and every person, not make it a class-wise approach that only certain people can have access to these certain technologies. I want to take it up to each and every person of the country, make it accessible for everyone. So the regulation side which is there, I'm trying to look at the whole world itself. And one other technology that is going to be very interesting and which might kind of give us a advantage over other countries is the eVTOLs, electric vehicle takeoff and landing vehicles, where probably you'll see in the next 1.5 years in cities like Mumbai, in Delhi, where you'll have these electric vehicles. It might be unmanned also, where you're sitting in the vehicle and you're just flying 20-meter distance in a city from one place to another. It's going to revolutionize city transport. So the guidelines that are required, the regulations that are required, we as a country are looking at it right now so that when it comes out in 2026, which is the expected date, there is a smooth flow of operations. So as a regulator, I want to see that all these different mediums of transport, air transport that are there is a proper streamlined regulation and policy in place. So once safety is intact, security is intact, but at the same time, people have access to these technologies. I see that when I promote these kind of technologies, new technologies, or improve the infrastructure in this, there is going to be more economic activity, more job growth in the process, and overall the development of the whole aviation sector. So in that, I see that MRO business also picking up as you improve the infrastructure. So it is a chain linking activity. So the first thing I'm looking at is increase the infrastructure, increase the number of options that you have in air mode transport. So these are some things that in the next 5 years, I'll be very dedicatedly looking upon.
Recently, with the ministerial level talks that were actually taking place, the Asia Pacific ministerial meetings that have taken, the conference that have taken place, you've had a declaration that was adopted. The declaration, many would say, puts across the roadmap. What do you think perhaps changes the entire scenario, the entire aviation industry, with India playing a major role in the Asia Pacific region?
We were very proud to host the second Asia Pacific Ministerial Conference. And one of the takeaways, and especially because it was happening in India, we had to give a certain idea about what India is about through the conference also. So 2 things we wanted to highlight. We obviously discussed upon the subjects that I've touched before, but 2 things we highlighted in the conference, because it was an international conference, we wanted them also to feel what India was looking at. So one thing is we wanted to see more women in aviation. And this, you'd be very surprised to know, the average number of pilots, women pilots across the world, the global average number is 5%. The Indian average number is 15%. Would you believe that? We are leading the numbers in women pilots or women workforce in aviation. So we wanted to showcase that to all the international countries, and we were telling them, boss, we need more women in aviation. We have to make it more convenient, more accessible, more women should come into the workforce. So we have, in the Delhi Declaration, we have put in a clause saying that, okay, we have to collectively think in the future so that we can see more women come into this. And the second point we stressed upon is the sustainable aviation fuel. And believe me when I say this, this is going to be a problem that the whole world is going to look at tomorrow. We need sustainable skies. We need greener skies, and one of the 3%, I think it's 2 to 3%, the gases emission is being done by the air travel today. So that is an area of concern for us also, and India wants to lead in that space. So sustainable aviation fuel is one of the solutions for having greener skies for aviation. And right now, we are on the verge of devising the technologies that create the sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, what it's called. So SAF is something which India wants to be ahead of the curve. India wants to lead the whole world in how do you create SAF more efficiently and more in an affordable price also. So these 2 are the major things that we are looking at so that India can lead what the future challenges are going to be and create a way or direction for the whole world to follow us.
Well, what is it that the world never believed that India could really achieve, particularly in the aviation industry? Is there something that during these conversations that you've had with people outside, what is it that they say that is perhaps a model to be adopted even outside?
No, definitely how we have managed to create so many airports. That was very surprising for all of them. When I shared this same figure of 74 to 157, they were all gasping. They were like, India having so many airports, then yes, it is believable. It is already there in front of us, and that is how we are aiming for 350 more airports also. The way in the last 10 years, it's not that it's an unimaginable number. It is the speed at which we have done. 10 years, I'm telling you, no other country has reached this kind of numbers. So when we say that in the last 10 years, we were able to create 70 airports, and we have increased the capacity also, so that takes them, and the number of aircraft orders also that we have given. 1,500 aircrafts, no other country has given. So they see the potential of growth of aviation in the country, not just the one we have seen in the last 10 years, but what they are going to see in the next 10 years. And definitely when we have said that more women need to come in, and we have proved it by the statistics also, that also they were kind of feeling happy about India, that we are leading them in the front in women aviation also.
So do you believe there would be a time that perhaps India could have something like what Dubai has, what Doha has? Can that be the hub that you want?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you talk about Doha, Qatar, the Kuwait, or especially Dubai, the statistics show that they are all running because of India only today. They get connected to India, they are taking passengers from here and connecting them through the rest of the world. That is how they are making their airports viable. Their airports are running because of Indians. Now, if you have those kind of connectivity from India itself, if you offer those kind of facilities on our Indian airports itself, and you create the hub and spoke model within the country itself, then definitely you can have Dubai in India itself. You can have another Gulf kind of airport in India itself. But it is a time-taking process. It's not as easy as I'm talking on the mic itself that I want to create a hub here. It takes some time because there are many things which need to combinedly do, and it's not just the matter of Ministry of Civil Aviation and their officers and everybody coming together. We need support from Ministry of Home Affairs. We need support from Ministry of External Affairs. We need support from Ministry of Tourism. So there are many aspects that come into play when I say that I want to create a world-class hub, aviation hub in the country. So it is a work in progress. And we recently had one meeting with the Prime Minister also, where he reviews each departments. We had a review, and his primary priority was also that we need our own aviation hub in the future itself. So it is a priority point and we are collectively working towards it.
Well, I'm asking you this question, Ram, because I couldn't ask him for a very long time and I was pursuing him. Unfortunately, he didn't. So today I'll ask him this question because this matters to a lot of us. Mind-boggling number of bomb hoax calls came in the last several weeks. Perhaps it, instilled some sort of a fear among a lot of air travelers. Was there a larger conspiracy at play? Even if you say that there could be isolated incidents, but the numbers were mind-boggling. Is there a larger pattern?
No, I wouldn't, first of all, I wouldn't comment on that directly because the investigation is still going on. And two things about that is that, one, you will be relieved that they've stopped right now. We are not having the...
You found the culprit?
It's not about finding the culprit. It was like those 10, 15 days, there was continuous series of threats happening on the social media or through calls of various mediums, but they have suddenly stopped for whatever reason. And whatever has happened, whatever threats we got at that time, there is a serious investigation going on. So until we really pinpointedly find out that this person or this XYZ is behind this, I don't want to comment on this at this point of time. It would be too early to do that. But the other thing, like you've said, there were certain, probably some worry among the passengers. But what we have observed, because I was thoroughly following up all the details and statistics and all, surprisingly, the number of passengers were the same and there was no cut down in any of the passengers. Could be for various reasons. I'm not defending myself here, but I'm saying that...
But some thought that this could be because of the growth in the aviation industry. Yes. Was this to target or tarnish the image of the growing, burgeoning aviation industry in India? Was that also a target? Can that be ruled out?
Like I said, I don't want to comment on it, but if you feel that that is the cause, I'm telling you that it's not...
You're not denying it.
No, I'm
You're
saying,
not denying it. You're still giving me the
if there is a
headline.
hypothetical situation, like let us say, out of all the 1,000 different possibilities, if one possibility becomes what you say, that situation is never going to come that they can bog us down and say that because of these threats, we are going to target the Indian aviation. Today, we are a very aspirational country. We are a very strong country. We believe in what we are collectively as a whole country. So these kind of things, we are going to take them as a challenge. We are going to fight them. We are going to head-on fight them and go ahead. But like I said, nothing has come to a standstill. We have improved our security at the airports by 10%. We have increased the surveillance and we have increased the convenience also, so that we have effectively, how do you deal the security aspect when you get these kind of hoax calls? So we have reinvented some of the procedures that we have so that we can actively target these kind of situations. So ultimately we came out better only.
One final question is, one cannot let you go without asking politics, and that too from your state. We've seen the number of visits that you have made recently. Many would say that the way you've targeted your political opponents in the state of Andhra Pradesh, we've seen the Tirupati issue that happened. Do you believe that this is becoming a revenge politics in the state of Andhra Pradesh? We saw that what Jayen Mohan Reddy did. Is this revenge politics?
We don't believe in revenge politics, and this was our mantra for the last 5 years also, when there was strong vindictive politics in the state itself. And we believe we have come to power in a historic majority. The mandate itself is so surprising that nobody would believe that in Indian politics you would achieve this kind of victory. I'll give you a simple statistics: 175 MLA seats. Andhra went for elections in 24. 175 assembly seats we have fought together as NDA against another party. We have won 164. 93% strike rate. Nowhere in the country you have achieved this kind of results. And we believe the kind of revenge politics the previous government in Andhra did against us was the reason people believed in us and they voted us into power. Why would we make the same mistake? It was never our belief that we should go after them or we should do revenge politics. We are purely committed in the development of Andhra Pradesh, and that is what you will see. You look at how Chandrababu Naidu ji is working, you look at how I am working, or you look at how NDA is working, or TDP is working.
Amravati. You will deliver Amravati.
Definitely we'll deliver Amravati, and right in the budget session itself, the NDA government has sanctioned 15,000 crores for Amravati. That was our priority, not revenge politics. How are we going to deal with the opposition in the state? That was kept at the back burner. We were straight away thinking about how do we build our brand Andhra Pradesh, how do we build our capital, how do we build our Polavaram project, how do we bring more ports, more airports, more job creation, how do we do speed of doing business. This is the mantra that Andhra is following now. You would have all heard about ease of doing business, but if you look at Chandrababu Naidu ji, he is not talking about ease of doing business. Everyone is into ease of doing business. He said, I want speed of doing business now. I want to do business so much that there will be a lot of job creation in the state. So we are very progressive, very development-oriented government right now in the state of Andhra Pradesh. But when you talk about some of the issues, it might look political or revenge, but we are placing the facts in front of the people. We don't want to hide anything. Now we have to, whatever the truth is, the people have to know. So let it be Tirupati issue or some other issue. If there is a fact, we will put it in front of the people and we will let them decide. But our whole idea and our whole priority is to develop the state, and through the development of the state, move the country forward.
Well, thank you very much, Ram, for joining us on this session. And thank you for putting it out so clearly, and all the very best with your innings. Thank you
so much. Pleasure to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for the young Ram Mohan Naidu, Union Civil Aviation Minister. Thank you, sir, for making time and being with us here at the Republic Media Network headquarters. Okay, on to our next panel now, comprising India's most sought-after market experts. Often referred to as the small cap czar, Purinju Veliath is a leading voice in Indian value investing. Having started as a floor trader at Kotak Securities in 1990, he went on to found Equity Intelligence, a value investing firm that has been providing value to investors in price-driven markets. And beyond the world of finance, Purinju is passionate about farming, philanthropy, and the future of India, a testament to his deep-rooted values and the unwavering faith in the nation's growth. A self-acclaimed nationalist who believes in everything India and Indian, Purinju Veliath is our first panelist. Suesha.
Yes, our second guest is a name synonymous with financial expertise and leadership in India. He brings over 30 years of experience across diverse sectors, from leading institutions like Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company to becoming the youngest CEO in the mutual fund industry at just 36. Bagga has emerged as one of the biggest commentators on financial markets. His views on global macros and the impact of geopolitics on Indian and global markets make him one of the most sought-after voices in the world of investing. His illustrious career has been a testament to his exceptional capabilities. So please join us in welcoming Mr. Veliath and Mr. Bagga on stage for a discussion on the rising Indian market with Pranav Kulkarni, Deputy Editor, Republic Business.
Mr. Bagga, Mr. Veliath, thank you very much for joining us here. Mr. Bagga, I'm going to get straight to the point. You've been a commentator on markets and the state of and the geopolitical impact on the Indian markets. The biggest event of the month, the biggest event of the year, in fact, was the US elections. And we have Donald Trump. Donald Trump has returned. I want to ask you, you said that Donald Trump is good for India. I want to know from you, how is he good for India? How is he good for Indian markets?
See, relatively, Republicans have been better for India. So that was my analysis. Second, with Trump, you can cut deals. It's not the deep state working and, very embedded state actors working. So if it was Kamala Harris, it would have been Obama and Obama operatives running the government. With Trump, at least India gets a seat at the table. His personal equation with Prime Minister Modi helps India a lot. And there would have been pressure on India to reduce dependence on Russian defense equipment, for example. Trump is open on all those things. So overall, Republicans better for India, and definitely out of the two, Trump better for India.
Okay. Mr. Veliath, your take on this?
Yes. Trump is good for the world, and I think that ecosystem is good for the humanity. So of course it's good for India, and there is an ecosystem emerging
globally. I was the other day talking about, the nationalist patriots are winning all over the world, the elections. So it's good. And this trend is going to be more intensive going forward. But these things are not going to have much impact, negatively or positively, on Indian stock market or investing, in my opinion. That has been a very different kind of segment. And whichever is in Republic or Democratic, anybody coming in, I think India is going to do well. We are poised for something very big. I think India is at the beginning of something really, really big in terms of the economic growth. We are going to witness a massive kind of expansion in the economy and the markets, and even culturally. So this is just the beginning of a very huge uptrend for the country. When we talk about, from the $4 trillion economy moving to a $30 trillion economy, this is unprecedented. We have that confidence. India has got that confidence to dream like this. And we are going to achieve this. There is that kind of a spirit is there all over India.
So, retail investors like me who are in the habit of, opening my Zerodha account every morning and checking where Nifty is or Gift Nifty is,